All right. Hey,
Hey,
Jeff.
Phil.
What?
Um, I had to get that little alert off since we're using my account. Every time you hit record, it throws an alert on my thing, and then I can't see your face anymore. So,
Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing.
yeah, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Um, Baseball this week's been fun.
Yeah.
Uh, what the fuck were we talking about earlier? Oh, you're talking about your box of wine.
Well, we were talking about
So,
we get our libations set up before we talk, and I've
yeah.
got my
So
classy box of wine that I drink.
all eight of you that are watching from home, and I say eight because there's probably two people in here that still haven't seen one episode of this.
Yeah, with our views, like maybe they're counting, a lot of us twice, like McDonald's used to do.
Yeah, it's every time somebody like checks in. So if they like, okay, they watch like 10 minutes of it, go back, watch another 10 minutes of it, go back, watch another 10 minutes of it. That's three viewers.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've
So we don't have as many
got your
people.
box of wine. I've got my Jameson rocks doing the Jameson Black Barrel today.
Nice.
Normally it's normal Jameson, but today I didn't feel like walking down into the basement and getting the handle that I have down there. So I just went with what was in the kitchen, and I had the Black Barrel in the kitchen because last week I crushed the other bottle. Done. Anywho, and then I got my Diet Coke as a chaser. Normally it's a Shiner Bock, but
I got my
then
tiny little
I got a little cooler with a couple cans in here, so I have to run back and forth to the fridge. But
I have my
the fact of the matter is, if I feel
tiny
like
little
switching
glass of wine that
later, I'm going to have to run back to the fridge.
oh, this is the kind of glass that the wine isn't able to breathe. That's why I choke it with a bunch of ice cubes.
Plastic cup.
Yeah. It's a glass. It's a little like orange juice glass.
Is that a jam jar?
I think it's like well, it could be. It could be. I don't know.
Hey, boy, you keep your mouth shut, bud. No loud barking today. We're good.
Closing that door like a good.
Yeah, like an apparition.
All right. Well, before we bring our guest in, we're going to do our usual thing. We'll just look at the standings real quick. I
Let's
think
do the
this segment.
standings, knock it out,
I think this segment
and
will
then
go quicker and quicker as we go along here. This is episode 5 for us, right?
yeah,
We're
Cinco, as in
we're
Cinco de Mayo.
we're out of our first Uno de Mayo today, but lesser known holiday. It gets no respect.
All right.
But it's 4 days before Cinco de Mayo. 4 días antes de Cinco de Mayo. So got the standings. We got the bad guys still up on top. The fix is definitely in. I don't know what this guy's pulling, but obviously his team's not that good. And
Yeah, he's getting a lot of help from Yahoo fucking shit up and giving you points 2 weeks from the time they fucked it up.
yeah,
I'm not going to give up on that one all season long. That's my bitch for the rest of the year.
that's right. Well, I'll probably beat you by half a game this year.
Oh, wouldn't that be rich?
So, anyways, so Capital Knockers did 2 games of Warrior in, and they went 6-0. So they're pulling themselves right up to the middle of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
After a bad start, McBride's took the collar, and the McBrides have been in the league since '95, and they're the team that's been in the league the longest without ever finishing in last. So this will be a real challenge for them because of their whole that they weren't at the auction this year.
For all the people
Real
that don't know,
handicap.
if we get some just random person in here watching this, for the people that don't know, when did this league actually start? What year was it?
Well, we started in '91.
All right, so this league is 32 years old now.
This is our 33rd season. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And this is like for most people, especially you got your millennials and your Gen Z out there. This league started before there was an internet. So that was Lou and other people pulling stats out of a newspaper and adding them up correctly and doing it the old-fashioned way when
It
this whole
was
thing kicked
it
off.
was the weekly paper. I think it was called the National.
Yeah.
And with a ruler and just doing it by hand. even the stats were just done with like magic marker. The fanciest I got was the first couple of years I actually Xeroxed, the blank standing, so I didn't have to like do that each time. But that's
Yeah.
as fancy as we. And they were hand delivered because all of us were in DeKalb at that point.
And none of these guys worked at a place that had a fax machine.
I guess not. I mean, I think I worked at Del Monte or on a pig farm or something like that, something like that. But
That was back in the days of pagers. When somebody wanted to get a hold of you, they hit 911 on your pager. That thing on the side of your belt went off, and then you ran to the phone, your closest landline. Oh my God,
well,
crazy.
the
My
well
first
the
cell
only
phone was like this thing that you could call in airstrikes with. It looked like a huge like phone that it was in a bag, and it looked like something out of Vietnam that you pull off somebody's back and just call in fucking coordinates and somebody blows up.
I only
I
know
mean,
that
it was like that.
because my wife's mother, she wasn't my wife then, but my mother-in-law had a sign painting business, and she had a cell phone. She had the like the antenna, and it was about whatever this big, and like the bag, like you're saying, so
Uh-huh.
she
And
had
then
to work.
it was one of those where you plugged into your lighter to get the juice to it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But if you had a really good job back in those days, you had one of those mounted phones right in the car that you could just like pull off the mount and fucking dial the fucking top of the phone and then send or whatever, and all of a sudden it would take like a long time to hook up with somebody. But everybody's got to remember too, back in those days, cell phones were Jesus Christ. If you talked or did anything on your cell phone like you did today, that would have cost you probably about 13 to 15,100 dollars a month
Yeah, yeah. The
because
long response.
you paid by the minute. You got no, like, there was no such thing as a smartphone feature where you're not going to just like get Wi-Fi somewhere. So anything you did with that phone, and if it was a long distance, holy crap, it was like 80 cents a minute. It was stupid.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I remember doing a fantasy football league in the late '90s, toward the late '90s anyway, and it was run by I think it was CBS Sportsline, and I just thought it was amazing that they would do the stats for us, and it was for free, except for looking at all their banner ads, I guess. But and you had like your little team, your helmet and logo. I just thought it was amazing compared to what I had done the stats by hand basically. Even when I got Excel and I discovered the vertical lookup feature, each player had a ID number, and then you could just get the stats. That way, like the spreadsheet thing, it would like fill in. In fact, I even did a. I don't even know if you did know this, but I did a. I had a fantasy league stat service from like '94 to '96 or something like that, '97. I used to advertise in like fantasy baseball, football index. I did basketball and hockey leagues too, but that wasn't as big as the baseball and football. So I had when I had the bookstore by Wrigley, sports bookstore, I used to do the stat service out of there. But then a few years later, Yahoo would do it for free, and it was better. And so I got out about I think it was '97 was my last year I did that stuff. But anyway,
yeah,
um,
a lot of work, a
yeah,
lot of work,
yeah.
man.
I mean, it got
I
if you were good at spreadsheets, you could set it up where it would go quickly, so semi quickly on Monday, but still, it was a lot of work even just to set it up with all the player changes and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, it's just so easy now. It's wonderful.
right.
But anyway, so getting back to the Saints, I was going to say the only
Yeah, we got
person.
cut off on a tangent right there.
Yeah, the only team that was at the first beer league draft was Hack Wilson, was Chad. So Chad and I were the only ones that were there in 1991. But then we had other guys came on board, like Doug came on in '95, I think it was. We had a lot of people came on in like '96 because we had 22 teams in the league that year. We didn't used to have retention. '96 was the last year that we actually had a draft as opposed to an auction. So you had like Chris. Chris was doing some show at the Metro, I think, and he just came across the street, and then that's when he got in. So I think his first year was '96, but I could be wrong on that.
Um, You know, I met Chris back in like I think it was '94, and it was through a friend of mine who actually got a job at the Metro. So it turned out, yeah, I ended up being better friends with Chris than I was with that other dude. But anyway, how did we get off on this tangent? We
Uh,
started talking about the standings, and now we're
yeah,
talking
we're just talking about the good old
about
days. But we got our special guest waiting, so I'll try to
it was my
do stuff.
fault.
But we see the cows are in unfamiliar territory. They're tied for last with the McBrides. I think the McBrides and the cows. I think those are the two teams that have never finished last. Besides teams that are a lot newer, like Let's Play and Dr. Satchel has never come in last. You know, in fact, I looked at it. I think he's only had 1 year where he was below 500, and even that year, I think it was like he was 77 and 79. So he was just barely, barely below. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I would love to see him come in last. Just as I don't know, you know, he's just been so good for so long. Even just from the minute he joined the league, I just want him to have 1 year just bad luck. But he's not going to allow that to happen because he's too smart for that.
so we can see the Buddha standings. It's still the Knockers in the lead, and Bizotti are the lucky laggards. And Buddha stands for boned up up
Boned up the ass.
so and cows are second in line. They're getting a little unlucky, and the gaggers are getting a little lucky according to this. So
Well, I'm
you
glad I'm in the middle of the fucking pack. I'll tell you that.
yeah, you're a solid. You're 12 and 14. You're supposed to be.
I'm not lucky. I'm not unlucky. It's just my guys are doing what they're supposed to do.
So looking at the glance, we see I already talked about the Buddha Kings and the lucky laggards, and you can see the games played overages and underages, and we see that Spears leading in games played overage, and IP overage is the Knockers. And once again, the Daddies are the paragons of pitching pace prudence. And the Weekend Warrior was Spear. They went 3-3. They were on pace for an 0-6, so that was nice warrioring. And Bizotti lost 2 games. They were on pace for 6-0 going into Friday, and then they ended up 4-2. Still not a bad week. And Let's Play is still leading in highest BABIP. But I also looked again this week that they're second in stolen bases. So some of that is they've got a speedy squad. So they're probably some of that is justified. And the Gaggers are the lowest BABIP hitters at 291, but I think Gaggers are maybe 10th in stolen bases. So we might have a slower team than most teams. And then the ERA minus FIP. This would be the Daddies are at plus 0.55, so that would mean that you're been a little bit unlucky.
Dude, I'll tell you, this week fucking blew for me for pitchers. I swear to God, half the guys I threw out there shit the bed.
Yeah, so
Real
half a
bad
run.
day on Sunday. I mean, I was expecting I got 3 starters going. 2 of them got -6.
And then
So it's just what do
we
you
said
do?
the Gaggers are leading the league in ERA minus FIP. So that means that they probably will
Are
have a
over their
higher ERA
yeah.
going forward. And we can see players of the week. You had Cal Raleigh in only 5 games at catcher for Let's Play. And who went 6-0? Was it
That was a Capital
Knockers? It was
Knockers out of
Josiah Gray.
Josiah Gray.
Josiah Gray and Sonny Gray for the Gaggers. So it's a good week for the Grays. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's been gray around here all week.
Yeah. In Connecticut, it's been. I looked at the extended. Actually, it was sunny, somewhat sunny today. But I looked on Thursday the extended forecast, and it was rain every single day through May 4th or 5th, and the temperature was like a high of 55, ranged from like 55 to 61 was the warmest day. So it was like I was like, it's just gonna be the same weather every day. Anyways, AJ Puck is the closer of the week for the Spear, and we had
Yeah,
Brent Rooker
yeah,
outfield.
what the fuck? I mean, I swear to God, he is so goddamn lucky at picking up these dudes that nobody knows, and then he ends up in the players of the week. I don't think anybody pays more attention to baseball than this guy right here. I'm just bring him in.
Well, they said luck is the residue of design, right?
Yeah.
was that Lombardi? I can't remember who said
I don't know who said it, but it makes
that.
sense. We got Phil coming in,
And we got
aging Dr. Satchel himself,
Brandon
who
Drury.
is who is fighting Phil or fighting Lou there for a the first place spot, even though you're not making it easy on him.
Brandon Drury is on waivers right now, and he was a player of the week qualifying at middle infield. He also qualified at corner, but I wanted to fit Nick Senzel in at corner for Hack.
Yeah, he just came up and started hitting.
So,
or did he come back from injury? Hey, there he is.
Hey,
aging Dr. Satchel himself, food entrepreneur, guitarist in a rock band. Phil, now, how are you, buddy?
Good to see your smiling faces, boys. How's this is a different computer for me, so let me know if it's all sketchy.
No, you know what? It's
Oh.
very clear. You
Yeah.
actually look a little more clear than my camera that I have on this thing, but I don't know, maybe I need to wipe the camera up a little bit. I have no idea. This can't this
Made sure
laptop's
this
about
was
3
in the
years old.
shot.
What's that?
I'm pinching the trophy.
Oh.
Oh, I see what you said. Oh, yeah. Nice little kids in the hall shout out there.
Yeah.
You talking about that softball team trophy?
Right. Hey, it's because Beer League has big balls.
That's what happens when you buy things online, right?
You know what? Like I said before, it's all about perspective. It's just a really huge baseball.
True.
Bigger than life baseball.
Well, I wasn't going to travel all the way to Marquette, Michigan to check it out. So,
Hey, it's probably got the same amount of seams as a baseball does. So we'll go with it.
Well, Phil,
I just need to get my name on that thing again.
Is this a drinking podcast? Because
dude, yeah, I'm doing
old
like
style for an old
Jameson and
pile.
Diet Coke. You got the old style going. Lou's got his his box of wine. We actually talked about this before we brought you on. Yeah, he's got the Botox
So
going.
nice.
He's a little
I'll
more
have to catch up
suave
on
and
that.
owner than we are.
Nice. So you guys are just looking at the leaderboards, or where am I coming at in the format here?
If you well,
we
can go
just
back to
went over
leaderboard.
this stuff. I mean, let's see, anything. Well, Page is projected for second.
Yeah, I think you're in second as we speak. I think you're what, 16 and 8?
Tied for second, yeah.
Yep. So you are 6 games back, and that's doable.
And
You know,
this is the one that pissed Jeff off. Brent Rucker, player of the week in the outfield there for you.
where do you find these fucking
Yeah.
guys?
It's one of those guys. You know, they're still in the big leagues. They might be on Oakland, but they're still in the big leagues.
Oh, there's plenty of guys in the big leagues that I picked up and fucking just like got me negative points and shit. So I want to hear that.
I remember.
You got a fucking four-leaf clover up your butt.
I remember the year that Phil picked up Framber Valdez. I'd never heard of him. I remember I made fun of him that it was like a random name generator. It wasn't even a real guy.
I think he picked him up after I dropped him. Or no, maybe you picked him up and I picked him up afterwards, held him, and then I traded him. I don't know. I knew I had Framber Valdez for a while.
So when Phil picks a guy up, I'm gonna hear of him like, within a year later. I'll go like, oh yeah, he's really good.
You guys, that's nice of you to say, Lou. It's nice though. It's fun to pick up a guy just to see if somebody else drops him. Just because, chances are it's baseball. It's going to even out, right? And they got so sick of them. They're on such a cold streak that usually when I drop a guy, they turn around right away too. It's just what happens.
Yeah.
Oh man, sometimes I'm unforgiving though, man. If they do me like negative 15 and they've been mediocre up until that point, sorry, man, you're fired. I'm fucking done. That's a weak ruiner.
A vengeful Jeff punishing them.
Oh, well, if you think about it, if they get you negative 16, you're expecting them to get 16. So there's a 32-point swing there, and that's a fucking weak killer. And if you have two, you're in fucking last. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I got somebody did me wrong like that. I don't know
I
who
mean,
it
they're
was.
taking hard-earned points off the board, and
Yeah.
I don't take that too kindly.
This time of year, I really have to force myself to, I'll drop players, which I've done recently, that are doing well, but going into the auction, I would have been higher on this other person that's available now. And as long as it makes sense according to how I do things with my numbers, it's a sliding scale. Like as the season goes on, I believe more and more of the season and less of what the projection was. But I do go against my gut quite a bit, and it's painful because it's hard to drop somebody that's doing well for you. So, but that's
Well,
what
if
I
you're
think.
going with your gut, man, your team would suck. Because I mean, going against your gut, you're 22-4.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that damage wouldn't manifest itself this early. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be noticeable yet. But
I
anyways,
always hear the mysterious my numbers. I always wonder like how Lou's numbers come to be. Maybe we get a special podcast on that.
I
Where
just
Lou's numbers
I
come
just
from.
use like at
Oh,
the end of
dude, I tried last week.
at the end of the year in October, that's when I do most of it. And then the rest of the winter is just like updating the depth chart. So it's like most of my work is done by the end of the World Series, to tell you the truth. And I just you look at the previous season and what weights on the previous years would have come closest to what the actual production was. And I so I go back. It's usually around 3 years, and so that's what I do. I mean, I don't know. So
I got a lot lazier. I used to do a lot more of that, Lou, and now I'm like I go to Bat X rest of the season on Fangraphs for batters. And then
well,
I look at one of the other ones, regular bat or ATC rest of season or something, for pitchers, because they're kind of hedging their bets too.
I mean,
Do you pay for
But they'll
Fangraphs?
factor in a little bit of changes.
I'm only doing stuff that's specific to our league. It would be of no value to anybody else. I don't necessarily figure out individual. Well, I guess I do, but it's all based on the beer league. So like one thing I do is a player who's injured or who is a rookie, whatever. He's not going to have less than a zero replacement level. So he's not going to have 0 points. He's going to have 250 points, whatever the replacement level is at his position. So when
Mhm.
a guy's hurt, he's not really getting zero from me. He's getting this replacement level. It's still bad. It's still he's
Yeah,
eventually
it's
going to drop down below the line, and then I'll choose somebody else. But
sure. A catcher will give you a 1.8 replacement level, something like that. What regular outfielder probably you can fill him in at 2.8, something like that a game.
yeah, I know that. I remember talking to you that you figured out like points per game and things. I do that too, but that's actually not even the final number I look at. I just look at this one number above replacement level, basically points above replacement level.
I
Yeah,
just thought of
that makes
something.
sense.
We should get a life insurance policy out on Luz. So what if he fucking kicks a bucket for any reason, then we can hire an accounting firm to take care of all this shit.
Oh, that's true.
I mean,
Yeah,
a
just a real
firm,
light one.
not just one person, a
No,
firm,
No,
you'll
because it's
just
going to take
right,
a firm to do all the shit he's been doing.
have to
right.
do it yourself, and maybe
There
you
ain't
won't
no
have
fucking money.
We'll outsource it to India or something.
some of these great features, and maybe it'll be better that you don't. I don't know.
Impossible. Couldn't be any better though.
So
I
if you
found
look at
that guy that ticked me off. Negative 21 points from Maeda last week.
Oh, he's hurt. He's
Yeah, that
hurt.
was I felt so smart when I picked him up. I was like, I can't believe Maeda's out there.
Rocco Baldelli should have identified that before and not let it get that bad. I mean, he was laboring out there and he didn't pull him right away. He should have.
Yeah. I'd like to know that one. That's I would never do that research, but I'd love to catch an article on that. Like somebody like the managers that'll let the guys suffer, you know, versus the guys that won't. And usually a veteran, he's just gonna be like, well, he's gonna eat some innings for us. It's a loss anyways. But a kid,
So
they'll maybe pull him sooner
the other
because
thing
they don't
goes
want to
into
damage
effect
his
that
psyche.
how much of the bullpen did they use the day before? So if they use a lot of the bullpen the day before, maybe he couldn't afford to get out of the starting pitcher that fast.
Yeah, that's
That's a
true.
good thing. If we can go back and look at like, the day he had that bad game and then check out the day before, go on to CBS Sports Line or whatever, look that up. That wasn't a shameless plug, by the way. It's just a fucking that's just a stuff I use a lot. Anyway, yeah. I mean, we can go back and check it out. I mean, that's a good we'll do that a little bit later though when it comes into when we get to injuries and shit. I got a long laundry list of people who
Yeah,
are coming back or
maybe maybe he was looking at Rocco Baldelli's wife or something, for too long in the clubhouse. I don't know. Vengeance.
So, Phil, have you looked at the rates and ranks tab? This is new for this year. Have you looked at this at all yet? This is
Peruse
where,
it a little bit. I catch it. I kind of do it when you guys are doing the podcast.
but you can see
now
like
that we explained it.
this is your ranks. You can see in a lot of offensive categories, weighted on
Nice.
base, runs per game, which is based on like the linear weights of each offensive event, OPS, all this stuff except for batting average. You're like number one. You're
How are
walking
you
them.
all that without being up in batting average?
Which what?
How is he up in all those other categories and not be like number one in batting average?
Because he's a new school thinker. He's looking at power guys. He
Right.
doesn't care about batting average, right? But his on
Yeah,
base
I
is
go
number
straight
one.
OBP in this.
But the
league.
OPS, I mean, a lot of that it's like he knows guys that take walks and hit home runs is what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Muncie's doing great, but he's hitting like 205. But I don't care. Devers is doing great because he's swinging for the fences this year, and he's not hitting for average, but who cares?
And you can
You know?
see
He's hitting them when he needs to hit them. I mean, when there's guys on bases, he's fucking jacking them out.
Phil is right in the middle of the pack in BABIP. He's actually last in stolen base percentage. I don't think that's as good a thing to look at as stolen bases. Satch and
They
stolen
got a bunch
bases.
of dummies.
You're last in stolen bases too. So you've got a slower team probably, and the guys are striking out, but they're also walking the most, and you're leading in almost every kind of offensive category. Pitching's not going as well.
A lot of these pitchers are pitching around your guys, I think, too.
Yeah, but look at that BABIP though. I'm right there with Dougie's team on the batting average of balls in play.
Yeah,
they got some
pitchers,
seeing eye ground
Yeah,
balls.
but if you look at the Buddha, you're not up on the top. I'll tell you.
If I didn't have Lance Lynn in there, I bet you I'd be up to 7th on BABIP.
But Buddha is just based on points. It's not based on anything like this. Like
okay.
I'm sorry. I was saying BABIP, batting average balls in play.
No, yeah. What Jeff was saying. It's
I got you.
It just almost seems like you're having really good luck right now.
Yeah,
Buddha, Lou, right?
But I'm not saying it's not. You've got a great fucking team, but it's just like if I'm seeing 6 at batting average balls in play, it just means you're hitting it out of the park, and you're hitting it out of the park with people on base, and that's huge.
What this would mean is that Phil is not getting lucky at all. His BABIP is right in the middle of the league, and he's still producing, these top numbers. He's striking out a lot, but he's also walking the most. And his BABIP isn't helped by the fact that he's last in stolen bases, so he doesn't have a fast team. So this would tend to say that there's no reason that Phil won't continue to lead the league in these categories or be near the top. And like
I got one big
God
complaint
forbid
on
injuries, but I mean,
they happen.
Yeah.
On the pitching side, the Cows are doing, having a really tough start, but their pitching is good. ERA and FIP are both number one. His WHIP is number one. So the Cows are pitching. They, obviously they must not be hitting, and you can see 10 and 11 all the way across here. They're not.
Note to self: make Normie a trade and give him a hitter for a pitcher.
And even Normie's BABIP is 5th, which means that he's right in the middle. He's not getting unlucky, at least according to these numbers. We don't have advanced stats involved in this, like the X. We don't have any StatCast or exit velocity or anything like that in this. So, but anyway, so So the cows are a real, what's the word? Dichotomy? I don't know. Like they're good pitching and bad hitting so far. And let's see.
And Spear is just smoke and mirrors here. I mean,
His pitching is absolutely the worst, and he's in the middle of the pack and hitting. And for some reason,
a lot of saves and a lot of walks.
He's
Yeah.
gotten a little bit unlucky with his BABIP, and he's actually number one in stolen base percentage. Where is he in stolen bases? He's third, so he's got a faster team than the average team, and his BABIP is pretty bad. So probably he's going to rise up a little bit there, So his hitting will probably get a little better, but the pitching doesn't look so good, so far. But Spear, he pieces things together similar to what Phil's able to do, and I think a lot of times his production is better than the sum of the parts, right? So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned it
the
by watching
master
you,
of
Dave.
moves, the sultan of swap outs, Phil Nauman. And
I
how
learned
many?
it by watching you, Dave. That's
Hold on,
it.
I gotta
learned it
bring
by
this up
watching
right
Dave.
now because this is great. So we are through 1 month of the league. All right. And already
Of the
Mr. Phil
season.
Nauman has 139 moves.
Phil? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next
They're all big
person,
leaguers.
the next person is Gambler Spear, who is 83. 83. And then we have Capital Knockers at 66.
66.
We have Bizzotti at 55.
55.
We have the Lollies at 49.
49.
We got Let's Play at 40.
40.
And we have Holy Cows at 30. I'm right after Holy Cows. I've got 26. And then at 17, we have Planet Sombreros. 13, we have Hack Wilson, which is Jesus. Hack is 13 moves this year. Crazy. And he's got more moves than Bake McBride, who has 11. I don't know. Dogs and cats are getting together in harmony now. Crazy. A lot of moves. A lot of moves.
Well, I thought we'd look at the top hitters, if I can bring that up.
Basis
I
stuff.
learned I would never check it at all if I didn't like find a time to like check my roster. So every time I have to go to the bathroom, I'll pull out the phone and see if anybody's starting or not. But also I guess I have to go to the bathroom a lot. So there's
Yeah, I
that.
was about to say, let's go to that one. You know what I
So,
fucked up today? I didn't check. I got busy earlier. Didn't check. I forgot about the doubleheader on Monday for the Mets. Didn't get my guys
kicker.
in time. Lost 15 points right there between Beatty and fucking Alonso. And on top of that, they're playing a doubleheader. So if you don't get them in the first game,
Yeah.
you ain't got the second game. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
lost a lot of points today by
Nobody
a
wants
full pod.
nobody wants to cry for me, but last week on Saturday, I checked the stuff, before noon, and Brian Reynolds, his game was maybe it was a 7 o'clock game, whatever it was. So the next time I checked, it was after the first game of the doubleheader started, and I couldn't put him up for either game, and I was like, damn it, and because he was on my NA, he was coming off a bereavement list, I think. And anyways, and I like to wait just to see if somebody else gets hurt, or I don't know. It's probably a dumb method. I should just have moved him up. But anyways, it was too late for me and he had 13 points that day, and I lost the 6-0 by 3 points, I think it was. So I was like, oh man.
Oh well, you got a 5-0 from getting 6 points 2 weeks before, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a bone of contention for me for a long fucking time. Yahoo, how could you be so stupid?
Well, we got the top
Who do you
hitters
have
here.
watching that game that's like logging that shit?
You're seeing the Yahoo screen, right? We got Acuna, top hitter.
Here we are.
Did
Yeah.
you see the
Reyna.
home run he hit the other day? Like some third level bomb.
The Mets hit him his first at bat in the second game tonight. He was taken out of the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought he got pulled.
Yeah, he played the first game, but so we'll see. Day to day, my favorite. I love when it's day to day and you can't move the guy. That's great.
Mhm.
Platinum is enjoying his whole thing. Who's number 1, 2, and 3 is what I want to know. That's got to be all three pitchers, huh? Garrett Cole probably number 1.
Yeah, I'll try. I've got that one too. We'll just look at the hitters. We've got Knockers have a Rosarena and Chapman, so they've got 2 of the top 3 hitters so far.
Wow.
And
Who'd
we've
have known
got-
Matt Chapman would be number 7 in the league when he's been like in the 200s and upper 100s over the last 4 years.
Yeah, well, like Chris said,
Larkin.
he's in his contract year.
Yeah, right.
And Satch, we got Matt Olson and Max Muncy, Matt and Max. Anybody else? And Daddies have
Right.
Adolis.
Dude, I tell you what, man, think
Nico
about all
Horner?
the players. We've talked about this before, I'm sure. Think about all the players that the Cardinals have had. They had a Rosarena
Yep.
and Adolis Garcia, and they traded away or came away for pretty much nothing. I think one of them might have been lost on waivers. So it's just like, what? I mean, and then you think of the pitchers they had, like Zach Allen, and I think they had Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah.
Oh my
Like,
God.
when the Rays call you up, you should have a big, staff meeting. Everybody should be in there. All right, what do they see? Why do they want this guy? It's kind of like when Phil maybe makes a trade offer to you,
Well, it's not so much just a
for your,
raise.
for your
I mean, they
third
traded.
catcher. You're like, really? You want Stallings? Okay, and then it makes you look at him like, well, I guess he is sort of good, isn't he? I don't know.
Oh my God! It's
Sorry if
amazing
I'm
how much
blowing your
talent's
cover. I'm
gone
sorry.
through there and never really.
It's unfair. It's unfair. It's not really like that.
But you know what? That happens to all teams. All teams have this guy that got away. You know, for so many years we heard about the Cubs with Brock and Brolio and all that fucking bullshit. You always have those guys that get away. Like Greg Maddux never should have played for the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah,
He should have been a Cub for life.
that's terrible.
Mhm.
Anyway, back to it.
Well, we got Trout and Devers. Nice to see some familiar names there. Oh, geez, I forgot about Devers. You got Olson, Devers, and Max Muncy. They're in your top hitters there. But Trout
Yeah.
and
Boys.
Rosati. The Gags have Semyon and Reynolds.
How about Nico fucking Horner?
Yeah.
Miso Horner.
He's been on base. Maybe it broke over the weekend, but he was on base every single game this year except opening day.
Dude's a stud, man. I fucking love that guy. He's just a fucking grinder ball player. He's not flash. He's not hitting a whole lot of home runs, even though he's got power. But he's not thinking about hitting home runs. He's thinking about getting on base. He's thinking about like moving the guys around, thinking about maybe hitting in the gap and getting a double and putting somebody in scoring position. It's just like he's kind of like one of the most unselfish players I've seen in a long time.
He's
And,
he's part of and maybe one of the main guys that are just fun to watch on the Cubs this year because they're playing ball the right way, which is
Reminds me of,
refreshing.
kind of like Ben Zobrist. He hit like a decent amount of home runs, but it was all about averaging it on base and being a good teammate.
Somebody said that Nico Horner is kind of like Ben Zobrist with a faithful wife. Right?
Nice.
Ooh,
Tough room.
don't trust your pastor.
So he's not the next Ryan Sandberg.
Well, no, he was.
Ooh.
he
Speaking of,
was.
If
And you
Zobrist
know
was
what?
if
I
Zobrist,
hate that shit about Ryan Sandberg because none of that shit was his fault. Same thing with Ben Zobrist. None of that shit was his fault. He just, they trusted people and fucking people took advantage of him. And when that happens, you get a very salty taste in your mouth. They fuck the world.
I
And I'm
just hope
assuming
that
that's what
Zobrist
happened.
wasn't one of our 6 subscribers because we would have lost one. So
Yeah. Next thing we know, we're in
17% of
a
our
defamation
subscribers
suit for some
gone in
stupid reason.
one sentence.
Love Ben Zobrist. He's fucking great. He's a champion Cub.
Wander Franco for the McBrides. It's nice to see a guy that was highly touted coming up and everybody knew it. And he's the goods, you know.
Hey, where's the other Wander Franco?
There's 2
Remember there
more.
was 2 of them for a while?
Yeah, there's 3.
There's 3?
Yeah.
Where's the other 2 now?
Don't know.
They're just wandering around somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
Oh,
Wanderer.
nicely played there.
thank you, sir. That's bad. That was
Spears got James Outman, and I want to point him out because I have a feeling that next week when we pull up the top 12 or so hitters, he won't be there. But we'll see.
Yeah, he'll be out, man.
He'll be
No,
out.
I think he's the real deal, man.
Yeah.
He,
But
look at that farm
this
system.
is pretty
And of
tough
all
company,
the guys
though.
they could have.
How
What's
old is
that?
he now? I don't know much about James Outman. I'm going to tell you that straight up. I mean, he came out of nowhere. I think he used to be with the Oakland. Was that correct?
No, you thought that last week. It was he came up with the Dodgers.
That's right. He did.
Yeah, maybe he has a sibling.
Now you got me. Got to look this shit up.
But Phil, I'm not putting Outman down. It's just that this is like what 12, the top 12 hitters. You know, it's going to be hard for even maybe Nico Horner to stay on this list, right?
Okay, I mean, yeah, you're not going out on a limb here,
You know,
but I mean, I could see him easily being a top 30 guy all year.
yeah. He was right here before, you know, and now he's here, and then I'm thinking he's going to be under there somewhere.
All right.
I mean,
So,
even Pete Alonso is the last guy on the 12 or so that we have here in the top half of the screen, you know, for the daddies.
so there was a Josh Outman, and he actually started with the A's in 2008, and probably had Tommy John, so he was gone for like 2010, came back 2011 for Oakland. Then he spent 2 years in Colorado, and then spent a year in Cleveland, and then spent a year in, not really a year, just a little cup of coffee with New York Yankees. Retired at 29, and he had a career WAR of 2.7. He had 16 wins and 11 losses with a 4.43 ERA. He was in 161 games, 32 games started, no saves, 274 innings pitched, 226 strikeouts with a whip of 1.4. That whip blows. That's one of the worst whips I've ever seen for a career. Which means Josh Outman used to walk everybody.
Well, switching to pitchers, we can see there's what I don't remember Cuna's number exactly. Was it 124? It was up there for a long time. One of us has to remember.
Yeah, he's number 4.
But was he 124? Because we got 2 or 3 pitchers that are at that or above.
No, I think he was 122.
Maybe.
I think he was 122.
So we've got Cole still on top. He's been on top for a few weeks now.
Clayton Kershaw.
Look at
Still
that.
kicking hard, and he's old as
Yeah.
fuck. And he keeps doing these 1-year contracts with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Isn't he on a 1-year contract? Am I wrong about that?
Is he still doing that? I don't know.
I think so,
He
but I don't
is.
know. I don't know.
Hey, I got my Justin Steele right there at 6.
I mean, Steele's the real, like, yeah, wheels of steel.
4.
Look at that.
Dude, he is
I mean,
like solid and consistent.
And he was looking rough in spring training, but I guess he was hurt or something, I heard.
Huh?
Daddy's
Well,
got
whatever.
a few guys on here. Daddy's got Gallen and Otani.
Yeah, my pitching has been good to me. Those 3 guys right there have been carrying me.
I mean, Cows have Kershaw and Framber Valdez, the random name generator that I remembered from when Satch picked him up before I knew who he was. And then Baked has McClanahan. That's who they got. That's who they might not have been able to get if they had gotten Guerrero in their
McClanahan, your wife's a lesbian.
in their blind bids. And then knockers have Joe Ryan. And got Spears.
Martin Perez. What do you, just not looking right now. How old do you think Martin Perez is?
33.
I don't have a good guess. I don't think. I don't think he's that old, but I don't know.
Throw it out there. What do you think?
I'll say he's 32.
You were correct. He's actually 32.
Yeah.
He's one
Yeah,
of those
Luke.
guys that's been in the league a long time, and I think I'm gonna look at this right. I'll bring him up on baseball reference. He started at a very young age. He's been in the league a long time. I mean, a long time. So
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
started
no,
in
he's
2012, and he's only 32 years old. So he came up right when he was 21 years old.
Which was more unusual back then,
Yeah,
especially for a pitcher too.
as a pitcher, yeah. I mean, you got to be a damn good pitcher to come up at 21.
he's been in the big leagues longer than I've been in the beer league.
Yeah, 2013, right?
Man. And he's got keeps pitching like this, he could go another 10 years.
Did you win in your first season?
He did.
He did. I
Oh,
looked at your history today. So
Lou got a lot of heat from that. Hey, Kershaw's a 1 year guy again this year. 1 year, 20 million.
why would Lou get a lot of heat from that?
Because of the way we did the draft. I think everybody got to keep 7, and then I got to like raid everybody's roster, I think. And then we changed it the next time somebody came in a league expansion wise. I think it was Kimler or somebody else.
it was too equitable, I think. But I think the big thing was at
I'm
least
sorry, I just spilled something. I'll be back. Go ahead and
at
talk
least
amongst yourselves.
at least like when it was like 20 years ago, we used to. I don't know if it was like this for you, but we had the expansion draft after the dirty drops. So then the guy, his name is Tracy, he was able to, he was the expansion, but he was able to pick people's, people that they dropped dirty drop wise, these high priced guys. And he came in second that year within a whisker of, of winning the league. And everybody was,
Yeah.
I haven't been the best at anticipating how things are going to work with the dirty drops because I don't really do it myself. If you notice, I don't know if you noticed, but I usually just I protect my best guys and I just that's what I stay with. I know everybody else does it
Yeah.
differently. They protect players that they're never going to retain, no intention of retaining, but they want to retain the matching rights. And I understand matching rights is more is a more important thing than I realized at first. Because even in '97, it was our first year we had the auction and retention. I had a rule in there that you couldn't drop your retained players for the whole year because I thought when September came, everybody would just drop their retained players and take, I didn't understand. So this is, I'm pointing out a shortcoming of mine, but
Yeah.
I didn't understand the value that matching rights would have, and there is a tangible value, I've looked at it. I still don't, I still want to keep what I think are the best players. So I'm really never going to become a dirty dropper, but I understand it a lot more now. I understand that it's a valid, important thing. And you're not going to drop Mike Trout in September just because you can't retain him. You know what I mean? So that should have been obvious, but it wasn't. It wasn't to me.
It's always a risk, but it's less of a risk than you think. Usually, worst case, you end up paying about what you would have paid anyways, with the exception of when Steiger and I went nuts on Arenado and made Jeff. I'll talk about it while he's out of the room because I don't want to poke him. Uh, and we made him mad for about 2 years on that one. He kept bringing it up because I think we went 120 on Arenado or something. And yeah, he was just like just steaming just for months for 2 years. He was,
I remember
and
driving to
it
the
was just
I remember driving to the auction that year, whatever year it was. And that was like the thing I was most curious about was what is Jeff going to match Arenado to? Like what dollar value will he actually match him at? And maybe he didn't even know for sure driving there. I don't know how that works. If you have if it's 98, I'm gonna match them. If it's over, I'm not. I don't know if people think like that. If it's more just a decision you make at the time. And uh, but yeah, I remember that year that he went for a lot.
For your best guy, you sort of have an idea, you write it down on a napkin and you go, okay, these are the guys. Oh boy, I can't afford all these guys. Let's see if I can move somebody, Like I knew I couldn't afford oh, what's his name? He's on the Phillies now. Their shortstop. He was on the Dodgers last year. Came about Trey Turner. And there's no way I was gonna be able to afford him. So I traded him in the offseason to for Seager because I was like, well, I need a shortstop. And I probably lost the trade, but it's better than just losing the guy for nothing,
Right, right.
you know? And
But
I'm
you have
sure
to know
and
you have to be good at knowing the market, and I don't think that's one of my strengths of like knowing what other people are going to pay for somebody. I have an idea and a gut feeling sometimes, but sometimes it's way off. And I spent an off season a couple of years ago, I guess it was, where I traded away other players because I knew I wouldn't be able to match them, and I kept the guy that I thought I would be able to match. And that guy ended up going for like it had to be at least $40 more than what I was thinking. I mean, I was so
yeah.
far off, and I had kind of engineered my whole off season, like probably like 2 or 3 trades, based on the fact that I might be able to match this guy, and I was completely wrong. So I don't think I have a great handle on what other people are going to go to on a player. So,
I remember you guys brought up
One
Arenado a second ago. I
yeah,
heard
he
that
was.
in the other room.
no, I don't think so.
Oh, I heard it. And I remember when the Arenado got like blitzed up to over $100, and I'm like, I'm not gonna forget this. And you remember the next year what I did? I started running up players, big on you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I
Yeah,
don't
you didn't forget.
forget. That's my problem. Yeah,
But that's the
it's
thing.
not
You're kind of
vindictive.
playing
It's
chicken,
it's
right?
strategy.
Yeah, you're playing chicken, You just sort of like, well, okay, you want him? He's yours, you know. Uh, the one
And
guy in the
Steiger
auction
were in a
this year.
fucking war between who's gonna get him, and I'm sitting
Hmm.
back and I'm going, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
What
And
year
Well,
was
I
that?
think that year, both of us
God,
thought that Trout was going to get dropped, dirty dropped, and he
that
didn't.
probably was
And then
2018,
and we both were
2017.
planning on going after Trout. I think we talked about it after, and
Oh
because
my
Trout wasn't
God.
there, we both of us were like, "Well, let's get Arenado," but
Didn't
separately. We didn't
Arenado have
discuss
a
it.
really shit year that year?
Yes. Yeah.
Fucking
I don't
love
think
it.
I ended up with him. I think Steiger did.
No, I think Steiger did,
Yeah.
For how
but
much?
He won.
For how
Uh,
much was it?
the one
it was like 114 or some shit. It was crazy. It was stupid. It was a
it was way up
ridiculous
there.
amount of like your budget. I mean, it was a lot. I mean, I get 105, 107, blah blah blah, but 114, holy fuck.
Yeah.
That's like three other players that you can get to fill out the rest of your roster at $3 a piece.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever valued a non-catcher anyway hitter like up. I mean, definitely not over 100. I mean, even I think like Mookie Betts one year, I was like, I had him like, for me, it was I made like $90 something like that. I didn't get him, so he must have gone. I don't know. Has Betts ever gone for over 90 or anything?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
I think he was
The
100,
thing
wasn't he?
is,
I think maybe Paul got him.
You got him this?
I think
Was it this year?
No, this is a while ago. This is definitely pre 2020 anyway.
if you're gonna, the thing is, it's the market. Are they worth it? Like by the numbers? No, but if you want a stud, and I think you need studs to win, you got to
Well, you
pay
got to
up.
pick the right one.
That's true. It's a bigger risk.
Yeah, very big risk.
I mean, it's
And it's
it's
like I don't see Soto being $100 player from here on out.
well,
I
not
mean, if
right
you look
now.
like what he did in the second half of last season when he's doing the first half of this season, it's like fuck. I mean,
Yeah.
a
What do
lot
you
of
think's wrong
money
with
for what
Soto?
he's putting out.
He's your guy, right? What do you
Yeah.
think's wrong with Soto? Is it just because he's not in Washington anymore, or
I think a lot of it is he's one of those guys that thrives with the team on his back, and he's at a place where he doesn't have to do a whole lot. Got other fucking studs on that team.
I sort of think that these kind of explanations will make sense until he just breaks out, and you know what I mean. Like, and then it'll just be forgotten. I mean,
If he
even with,
breaks out, he hasn't broken out since he's been in San
but
Diego.
even with Washington, he was still, walking, making contact, hitting the whatever the barrel. I mean, he was hitting for power, but he wasn't launching, lifting the ball as much as he should have. So it just seems like once he corrects that, even in San Diego, and I understand it's not a great hitter's park, um, I
No, but
can't
he has some
imagine.
prolific home runs in the Washington Park. Why couldn't he do if he can hit that far there? Why can't he hit that far in San Diego?
I mean, he's going to be there a long time, and I have a hard time believing that. Well, now he's just going to be a mediocre player, or a
was
good
it
mediocre player. Like, I mean,
It,
he still wants Soda. I mean,
I know. He's still got that talent, but it's just like, is it psychological? That's the thing. I mean, is it psychological? Is this thing where he's like, okay, I realize I got a bunch of other studs on this team, and I don't have to be that guy.
I guess. I mean, but that just sounds like guesses to me. Like trying to fit something into some explanation. Maybe there's just not really a great explanation. Maybe once the weather gets hot and he'll start lifting the ball more. I don't know if his all of his numbers in San Diego look bad, but I know in Washington when he wasn't as productive, he was still good. But when even before he got traded, he wasn't as productive. Like a year before he got traded, it was all due to the fact that he wasn't the launch angle or whatever. And I'm not a
remember
big
21? He stunk in maybe the beginning of 2021, I want to say, and then he went
yeah.
to the home run derby. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I should lift the ball." And then the second half, he
Yeah,
destroyed.
so
But he was
that's what I mean. I mean,
lousy,
he's
in the first half of that year.
he's still a young player, and he's got so many years ahead of him in San Diego. I mean, well,
Well,
possibly
he's got a
San
couple
Diego.
in San Diego. I mean, they got to re-sign him in the next
Yeah,
what
yeah,
year
yeah.
and
I
a
forgot.
half.
I forgot. But
Okay, so who's gonna have a better year starting now? Yandy Diaz or Juan Soto?
Hmm.
that seems crazy to me. But I
It
love
does seem
what
crazy,
Diaz is
but
doing. Diaz is similar. He was always hitting the ball hard and had obviously a great approach, but he was hitting grounders, and now he's not. And I don't know if it's going to last, if he's made a lasting correction. But it seems weird. Why would he make the correction now as opposed to last year? I'm sure that these coaches were in the video room were going, you should launch the ball a little more.
it's not so easy. Everyone says change your swing plane, like lift the ball. It's like you've been hitting this way. It's a built-in reaction that you do in 0.05 seconds. Like, you can't just lift the ball like that. Some guys have the back control, can do it, and like a Jeff McNeil maybe could or something. But these other guys, they're swinging so hard. I don't know. That's a lot of muscles to retrain. It might have just taken a couple of years.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I talked about this before, but I've seen that average launch angle stat, and to me, that's my least favorite advanced stat that there is because you could have a pop up, and then you could chop the ball into the ground, and then like the launch angle would come out to like, yeah, that's ideal. It's like you can't. The average launch angle is a terrible
Yeah.
thing to look
No,
at.
you want give me launch angle on hard hit balls. That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
When you hit the
yeah.
ball hard, are you killing worms, or are you getting it up in the air, or line drives? I'll take either one of those. Just don't
Yeah,
be killing
launch
worms.
angle on your top, third. What is your? I don't know. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, something where it breaks it out because you could have two terrible events and they might average out to like, see, that's good. So like, oh, really? You want me to pop it up and then, and then hit it into the dirt 10 feet in front of home plate?
Yeah, but anybody who's doing that, they're so bad that you don't even bother to look at their average launch
Yeah.
angle. because they just get sent down, or they're just you're not even looking to see what they're doing. They just stink. Because
Well,
when you pop it up, your exit velocity is awful. Usually.
let me finish up this screen so we can get our big faces on here again. So got Let's Play with Gaussman. That's their guy. I think it's the only guy they have in the top dozen or so here. And then Spear has Eduardo Rodriguez also, and Martin Perez. Sombreros have Luis Castillo, Spencer Strider for Satch, and man, oh man, Strider just
Spencer Strider, man, that's one of those guys that came out of nowhere. He was never on my radar. And you found that dude and held on to him. And it's just like, whenever I look at a player that's really like going off, and I'm like, oh, let's see if they're available. And I punch that shit in. And 9 times out of 12, it's on paging Dr. Satchel's team. I'm just like, God damn it.
Yeah.
How does he know?
The thing is, he was a good reliever, right? And he was poaching wins as a starting pitcher. So I had him, and then I drop him, and then I pick him back up, and then I drop him. And I think the third time, Steiger picked him up, and I was like, crap, I lost the guy. And then Steiger dropped him, and then I picked him up, and I was like, I'm not letting him go this time. And so it was one of those ones where like I didn't know, but I was like, heck, I'm gonna keep him just in case they put him back in the bullpen.
And then he was
Obviously the
just
rest
fucking
happened.
lights out.
Yeah.
And he's got a cool mustache, kind of like Dylan Cease. He's like the National League version of Dylan Cease.
If you look at starting pitchers right now, I mean, I know you could make a case for, at least in the National League, like Gallen, obviously. But would you go lower than don't you think Gallen and Strider? I mean, I know they're in the top 12 right here, but I can't think of anybody I'd rather have than Strider as a starting pitcher,
Dude, to see Zach Gallen pitch in a empty ass, I mean, when I say empty, I mean 25 people there, minor league AAA ballpark. And just hear the fucking, like, I could hear the ball sizzle through the fucking air when he threw it. It's just like when you have nobody there making any noise, the whole scenario of a baseball game is completely different. Crazy.
Maybe, but I mean, Gallen, what do you have? 44 scoreless innings last year, and he had like 28 this year. I mean, he's something else too. I mean, I don't know.
Dude's a great pitcher, man.
About,
I mean, the reason why he's been
catch him in a
traded
minor
3
league
times
park?
because he's been the fucking chip in every one of those trades that everybody wanted.
What trade? What did you say?
Well, I mean, he was traded from St. Louis to the Marlins,
Right, and then he was
and that's because he was
Chisholm.
like the number one piece in the deal. And then when he got traded to Arizona, he was the number one piece in the deal.
He was the Chisholm. Was that the
Yeah,
Chisholm?
he's that guy that everybody wants. That's why he's been traded a couple times. That's why he's in Arizona. Kind of like Max Scherzer in a sense. You know what I mean? You
But
saw what Max Scherzer became.
they gave him the boot from
I
Arizona.
just hope he never ends up on Detroit. All my wins from Zach Gallen will be gone.
All right, so the last guy in the pitchers leaders is Stroman for the Cubbies, and that's another Spear guy. So I didn't see that one. So it's Perez, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Stroman. That's pretty nice. I mean, to have those 3 guys in the top dozen or so pitchers, and I don't think in the auction anybody would have thought that. So,
Well, think about this too. Stroman right there. He had like, what is it, like 5 earned runs in one game or something like that.
yeah, he's still up, and he's still.
So I mean, if it wasn't for that one game, I mean, he would be sitting fat as fuck.
But that's kind of like when they do the football stats, and they're like, well, they've only allowed 3 yards per carry, except for that 94-yard run in the second quarter.
Yeah, well, that's
that
the opposite
too,
of what I'm
right?
talking about. Yeah.
If you take away all the home runs he gave up, he could be a top 5 pitcher. Yeah. No, Lou, you got the same plan this year as Dave Steiger. He never pays for pitching either.
Oh my God. Lou had a dollar per player. I mean, his average per pitcher was $1.
It's not necessarily that I had a plan that I wanted to do that, but it's just I poached some hitters, some high price hitters, and I didn't really have much money left, I do think I do value the pitching less than I used to, but
Well, I mean, there's so many times that you can pay for a lot for a pitcher, and then all of a sudden he's Tommy John in 3 weeks, and all of a sudden you're out all that you invested in him. So I mean, it's like the injuries to pitchers really dictate what we pay for them now.
yeah, I mean that's one thing I started to look at a few years ago was the reliability of the projection. So like when you project a guy's going to have 44 saves, great. Oh, then I'd be willing to pay whatever for him. But how reliable is that stat? And we probably can guess that the save projections are the least reliable of all. And so that's something I started to look at too. It's like, okay, you can have the best projection going in and base your bid on that, but what if you know that projection is, 40% BS, I mean, it might not be any, so then you should tailor your dollar value to that. I think that's why rotisserie tends to pay more for the hitters than the pitchers, except for closers, which they, in those leagues, they, go out the window with the bids for them, which is such a foreign thing to us because our relievers go for so little, except this year they finally went for a decent, a semi-decent amount. But we've had years where like the top closer goes for under $10 or whatever. We don't show any respect because our system's different. We don't have
Yeah.
a category that's just saves. So I feel bad for us when we look at magazines because we can't really relate to the values in there really at all. Like I mean, not much because stolen bases, no walks, and the saves thing that just throws everything off. And plus, those people are just so deathly afraid of having a bad start because of what it's going to do to their ERA and their WHIP. Whereas
Mhm.
us, we get a negative 15 start, and we're like, all right, well, great, this week will suck, but it doesn't kill you for the whole year. Like in rotisserie, I know that Phil, I know you play in a rotisserie league, and it's got to be a much more nerve-wracking experience than the points league that we have. So
In some ways, but you just also think it's going to even out. You're like, well, it'll even out, hopefully. But yeah, it's been awful this year because everybody's getting blown up. So like at least in our league, you can just start over in a new week. But you're right. In like when you get through the whole year, you got those runs all year. You're working them down, working them
yeah,
down. Yeah, that's I don't know. I'm not very good at rotisserie yet, so I got it's a different kind of game, and you set your lineup like once or twice a week. It's a different deal, depending on them. But I'll get there, wrap my head around it.
All right,
I'm a beer league guy at heart.
let's go through some injuries. You guys want to go through injuries? People
Oh
that
yeah,
have,
my favorite time.
all right, well, it's people that have gotten injured, people that are coming back. There's a couple trades in here, but Austin Meadows goes to the 60-day disabled list. I know that's just a kind of administrative move, but Jesus Christ, what a disappointment. He was such a hot prospect back in the day, and it just doesn't seem like he's ever gonna be anything.
I mean, at this point, he's like, was he even rostered?
28,
Was he rostered by
29?
anybody?
Well, yeah, he's on Detroit.
But I mean, like in our league though, he's like
No.
he's too far below the line, right? To even like,
Well, he might be rostered by somebody on their IL,
yeah.
but I mean, Jesus Christ, this dude,
I'm a
he was
former
supposed to be the next.
Meadows lover,
He was
Nomar
number one.
Mazara,
He's what
Austin
got
Meadows,
the
all those.
Pittsburgh Pirates to trade McCutchen because he was this center fielder that was coming up, and he was all this and that, and a whole bag of chips. And then they trade McCutchen because McCutchen was going to cost too much. And what the fuck? Anyway, Judge out
The
10
Rays gave
days.
up. The Rays let Meadows go, and that now we know that you should really look at that seriously. The Rays
Yeah.
are like, nah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. They took a chance on him and it didn't work. Judge, he's out 10-day with a hip strain, replaced by Franchi Cordero.
Who's out?
And what's that?
Who?
Aaron Judge.
Oh, Judge. Yeah.
Yeah. Frenchy
Never
Cordero
heard of him.
sounds like a name like somebody down in the South saying Frenchy Cordero.
Frenchie.
Frenchy
Fancy.
Cordero. For the
Sounds like
Giants. Okay, go
a
ahead.
dancer. She sounds like a dancer at a exotic club.
Frenchy
Frenchie.
Cordero. Now coming to the stage, Frenchy Cordero. All right. Giants. They lost Crawford, their shortstop, and Yastrzemski to the 10-day. So there's two of their
I have
starters
your
out.
strengths.
Yeah. Crawford had a calf strain. Yaz has got a hammy. And that sounds like a jazz song. Yaz has got a hammy. Harper cleared to return. Bryce Harper coming back.
Now that's
Yeah, way to
amazing.
go, Capital Knockers, man.
Knockers.
Who I
Yeah.
tried to get him a lot this offseason, and he was not going anywhere off Larkin's roster. He said somebody's gonna have to pay for him in the auction if they want him. So I bid him up pretty high, and then I had to walk away. But now it's looking like a bargain. I think he got him for like 60 or something.
How many studs you want on your team, dude?
All of them.
That's that's a little scary, right? I mean, Knockers went 6-0. They've got Tatis back, and now they're going to get Harper back insanely early. I mean, he's not a pitcher, but I think that
Might
surgery
play a
was
little
in
first base
November.
to start. You never know. And if
Wasn't
he
it in
plays first
November
base
he
for
had that
5 games,
surgery?
he plays first base for 5 games. Guess what? Now he's an outfielder, first baseman, corner infielder. So not looking too bad for the Knox.
No.
You know, my opinion of Harper has really evolved because I didn't like him. I thought he was overrated. And then it became kind of like conventional thought that, yeah, he's overrated. And then like all of a sudden you were like, you know what? He's actually underrated now. He's been so, it's been, so widely thought he was overrated. Now he's like kind of underrated. And last year he came back and kicked ass. And this year he's coming back from Tommy John in the beginning of May when they thought, if he was a Met and they said All-Star break, that would mean like probably he's going to miss the whole year. Maybe he'll be back in September. You know what I mean? Like, and he's coming back at the beginning of May, and they
Well,
really need him.
thing
They really
is,
need him.
he's coming back in May, but is he going to be down in June? You know what I mean? It's like if as long as their concerns as far as his health go, if they're fucking like if he's like 100%, fine. But if you're just reaching for straws and saying you got to get back, even though
I
you're
can't believe that
90%,
they would do that. I mean, like they have so
well,
much
I
money
mean,
invested in him. I mean, I can't
pro,
believe that they would bring him back
it's
in the
pro
beginning of May.
sports, dude. Whether it's fucking football, they got a lot of money invested in these players. They want them on the field.
But I mean, but it would make more sense. Let's say that Philly is close and it's later in the year. Then you could question it, like, they
Yeah,
really need it. But like they
right.
don't need him in the beginning of May. I mean, they need him really bad, but they don't need him
What's
in
Philly's
the
record
beginning of
right
May.
now?
So I have to hope that they're being well. I don't care really, but I mean, they're probably being smart, at least in their eyes about this. I don't think that they're rolling the dice or something.
Here's something interesting. Stephen Brault. Remember that pitcher, Stephen Brault, who used to be on Pittsburgh and caught a little bit of time with the Cubs and some other teams. He has decided he's going to be an outfielder now. So, a la Brooks Kieschnick and a la Rick Ankiel, we got Stephen Brault, who is going to now be an outfielder, and he's in AAA, being an outfielder.
For who?
I don't know.
But that's a
I could
that's a
go on
player
like
that I will be completely shocked if that ever becomes a player that's relevant to us, not to the
you never
Cubs,
know.
I mean, but to
If,
us.
Stephen
has Stephen
Brault
Brault
playing
ever
for
hit a home run
an
when he was a
independent
starting
league team.
pitcher?
What did you say, Phil?
He's 30 years old and he signed with an independent league team in the Atlantic League.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. So he's trying to
Good for
make a
him,
comeback
man.
as an outfielder. The Indians trade Connor Pilkington to the Diamondbacks, and that's not to be confused with Carl Pilkington, the guys that Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant used to mess with. I don't know why that means anything. It's just because his last name's Pilkington, and I had to say that. Garrett Whitlock is to return as a starting pitcher when he comes back. He is not going to the bullpen. So they're going to keep him in the rotation. Interesting. Dodgers Miguel Rojas is about to return from the DL. So the shortstop position that Chris Taylor has been holding down, now they got Miguel Rojas back, and you might see some starts from him.
He was on
Urquidy to
Satch,
get
right? Did you have him earlier this year?
Miguel
Rojas?
Rojas?
Yeah, for a minute when Seager went down. So I've been rotating shortstops. I didn't have a backup for Seager, so it's been whoever's happened to be there that day.
Yeah.
Plus, I believe the Dodgers can make anybody awesome.
What is it with their farm system, man? I don't know. Urquidy from Houston to get an MRI on his right shoulder. That's no bueno. Who's got him?
It
Anybody
was
know?
actually, it's not what you're thinking. It was actually, he just got a tattoo. It said MRI on his right shoulder. It was a big mistake. That whole thing was misunderstanding.
He got tattooed by a baseball, actually, is what happened. He got hit by a line drive.
No
So you're
shit.
half right there. And so actually the MRI
Yeah,
was
that
partly
tattoo
because he
says Spalding.
yeah. No, I think that's the case, actually, though.
It says the tattoo says Rawlings, and there's like stitches going up, but they disappear. It's so weird. All right, Alex Kirilloff. He's off the DL, but they sent him down to AAA.
He'll probably go on the DL and AAA. IL.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to get him some at bats to get him some room. Trevor Larnock's been doing well, so it's kind of keeping him down. Woodruff from Milwaukee, he's looking at a late June return.
Is
So
that a
whoever's
Satch
got
guy?
him, Brandon Woodruff.
Is that a Satch guy? Woodruff?
No, he was last year, but I couldn't afford him.
Yeah, he's expensive. The Rays acquire Javi Guerra from Milwaukee, little starter reliever. Never made anything of
No
himself.
better guy to go to war with than Guerra.
Jacob DeGrom on the 15-day disabled with an elbow. Do you think he's going for a second Tommy John?
I am
think.
shocked to hear that.
I know. It's like, really? The DL for that guy? Fuck. Crazy. All right.
You mentioned Urquidy, right? That's who we were talking about?
Urquidy, he's going to get an MRI on his shoulder. So you said he got hit by a pitch?
I thought
Or
so. I
not a
might be
pitch,
wrong
but a
there,
hit?
but Luis Garcia exited today with an elbow discomfort too. Houston's having some trouble in their rotation.
No shit. That could
Just
change
saw
their
that one.
season. They could make
Yeah.
it hard on him. Corbin Carroll, day to day with a left knee bruise.
That would be 33% of the Luis Garcias in the league, right?
That's a lot of Garcia.
Yeah, jeez.
All right. Gritchuk.
Swoop.
Gritchuk is back from the 10-day, if anybody's got him. And Christian Posh, which I don't think anybody has. If you do, he's probably on your NA roster, or he's probably sitting out there. But he just went down with a torn meniscus. Comes at a great time because Ramon Laureano is now back.
I just put him in.
Maeda, 15-day for triceps. That's the big negative you got. He tore his triceps that day and tried to keep pitching.
Who was it?
Kenta Maeda.
Oh, Maeda. Lego Maeda.
Our guy Maggi from Pirates, the guy at 33 years old, made his first debut. Interesting story. He actually got optioned back down, and then there was some kind of rain issue or something like that, or somebody got hurt or something, and they were able to keep him up. And then they actually put him in the game, and he got a hit. And that's when the Pirates beat the shit out of somebody 16-0 or whatever the hell the score was. But got his first hit, got his first RBI. He just got sent back down to the minors, and Miguel Andujar took his place.
Oh.
All right, and then that's pretty much all I've got. Got
Phil, I
a
was
It's
couple
under the
things I
radar,
can.
but that the poor Pache kid was, he was the old Atlanta Braves guy, and then he got
yep.
traded, I think,
Right.
to Oakland, and then he went over to Phillies, and he had a 960 OPS this year
Was
through
he part of
24
the Olsen
games.
trade?
Ah, boy,
No,
was he? Yeah, I think he was. He was
Hold
one of the
on, I
guys
think he
because he
was too. I've got baseball reference up here. Baseball
he
reference, in case
was.
you need to
yeah,
go
I
for
think it
any
was.
information.
I think he was a first round draft pick in 2015. And then he was looking good this year. 18 games, he had a 960 OPS. And then, as often happens with these guys, Heartbreak City again. But he's still 24 years old. So,
You mean
in 2 years, when you see Pache again, pick him up.
the A's released him and he's on the Phillies?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were starting him against left-handers mostly, but he still has good defense. So he was getting into games. But they got that killer center fielder they got, Marsh, who's been kind of holding back his time. But he was hitting this year, man. He was looking good.
All
He had
right,
a
so check this
360
out.
average.
Uh, all right, so the Braves traded him with Ryan Cusick, Joey Estes, and Shea Langoliers to the Oakland Athletics for Matt Olson. Now he's not on the Oakland A's anymore. He actually got traded March 29th of this year to the Phillies for Billy Sullivan. So he is Phillies property.
And they're going to stash him until Marsh comes back to Earth and starts
He's
being
gonna
his
he's gonna he's gonna
670
take the
OPS
same
self
fate as Mickey
again.
Moniak.
Yeah. Well, it's surgery today, so supposed to take 4 to 6 weeks. So stash him on your IL.
Meniscus isn't as bad. I mean, it's not as bad as like the other one, ACL.
It's
It's
funny
an
because
MCL.
the A's got Langoliers, and probably 3 years from now they'll trade him to the Braves when Darno's gone. And they'll have that's what the A's do. They're going to get another good catcher, and then
Hey, Langoliers is
when he's
hitting.
going to
I'm
require
happy with him.
more than
As long as you stay
$5 million a year,
hitting.
they'll trade him.
You fucker.
What?
Paging Dr. Satchel just added Christian Bosch.
What?
I was just trying to get your goat.
That's move 140. You
No, I'm just messing with you. He's back on the wire. I don't need Christian Pache. He had 0 walks this year. I'm not going to take anybody on my team with 0 walks.
You're number one in
that
walks,
just
so
struck
we
me
know that.
funny. I'll be right back. I gotta get some ice.
Phil, I was going to ask you, when you traded for Seager, you said, you
Yeah.
traded Turner because you wouldn't be able to afford him. But were you looking at the shift? Because Seager was one of the primary guys that they would write about that was going to benefit from the shift. I mean, obviously, you can't benefit when you're not playing, but I mean, were you looking at that
Yeah.
too?
I heard about it, but I was really banking on the fact that he'd be healthy and a good hitter, and a second year at a new team. I like guys on their second year in a new team. That first year's a little rough, adjustment and stuff, but then you can get a groove back in on your second year, on a team. So I think it's his second year. Yeah. So I kind of figured those two things. I did hear about it. But I don't know. Then people said it's like, 5 extra hits a year. I'm like, I don't know. I'd rather just get a
I think
guy
for
because
him,
he's
it would have
good.
been more than five.
Yeah.
Because I think
Um,
his batting average with the shift was like 180. I mean, it was really low, and they were saying like this is how. I don't remember the exact number of hits that they were saying that he would have.
yeah,
But
that was one of those trades though. Like I traded Turner was 50x, Castillo for Seattle was killing it, was $31 keeper, and then Tovar for the shortstop for Colorado, who's a free agent now out in our league. For Seager at 35x and Lance Lynn at 13x, thinking these guys are on down seasons, so maybe I could pick them up for cheap, and I could afford them because I just figured those other guys they'd end up walking, So it doesn't look great to trade Turner and Castillo for Seager and Lynn, but it's better than getting nothing, at least in my
earlier
book.
earlier Jeff talked about that I didn't spend any money on pitching like Steiger does, and I thought this year I was really concerned that what I was when I was gonna, the year that I was gonna have this $1 staff, this might not be the right year to do that, because I was worried about how the lack of shift would affect pitchers that weren't overpowering. And I knew that I was going to have a lot of pitchers that weren't overpowering on my team. And I thought, man, maybe those guys that were getting by and doing, mediocre, decent, are going to get shelled this year, because they're not striking guys out. They're going to allow contact, and it's all going to be hits. And, so I wasn't, this year has turned out in my top 1% of expectations so far, and
Yeah.
I don't expect that it's going to continue, but I'm for many reasons, I'm very surprised, because I thought the Kyle Gibsons and the whoever, the kind of guys that I had on my team were going to be the guys that maybe, like a DeGrom, it might not matter too much if there's a shift or not, because he's striking out half the guys, or, I'm talking liberally here, but,
Didn't you drop Kyle Gibson?
I did.
What did he do?
No, he was good. That was one of the
Good.
that was one of the things I was talking about. Like there was players that became available that, at least on auction day, I would have been much higher on than the guys that I had, and there hadn't been enough of the season yet for me to drop them below
Right.
that level. So that's why, and it was really hard to do, because it didn't feel right. I mean,
Dude, it's always the worst when you like everybody that you got, and you have to drop somebody because somebody's coming off the DL or somebody's coming up on NA. And
or somebody's coming on waivers, like a guy that you would definitely have taken before this guy, and maybe even quite a bit before.
mhm.
So I don't know that my way of doing things is right, but I guess the thing I tell myself is, why bother to do all these numbers if you're not going to follow them when you have to make a decision? Otherwise, just don't do the numbers. You know what I mean? Just do it like a normal person who just uses their gut and just says, like, this makes sense to me, and I'm going to do this. And I think that's a completely valid way to do things. Don't get me wrong, But if
Right.
I'm gonna spend all October doing all these numbers, why it'd be dumb not to listen to them, even if it causes my team harm, which it might.
Oh, absolutely. One thing I forgot to say about the injuries, JD Martinez is on the 15-day disabled list for the Dodgers, but Will Smith returns. So you lose one, you gain one.
That's a slap in the face.
Yeah. Hey, I found this article about 5, and let's give a thumbs up, thumbs down on this one. But can these 5 players sustain their strong starts? So there's 5 players here with really strong
Go
starts.
ahead.
And you tell me thumbs up or thumbs down on whether or not they can keep it going. So Joey Gallo is at 265, 368 on OBP with a 796 slugging percentage with 7 home runs.
How much is the slugging?
796.
Well, I'm going to go under on the 796, but I think that he's going to be fine.
So you think the Twins corrected him, or you think he just finally matured as a player?
I just think he is who he is, and
he's always been a slugger. The problem is
New York wasn't the right
he's always
place
been
for him,
really
obviously.
undisciplined as far as like swinging out of the strike zone and just not being able to hit the ball. But I don't know, man. I think he reverts. I think he goes back down to like a 230 hitter, which is going to be way better than he was last year.
That's who he is, though. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
If his OBP is high and he slugs high, not 769, then I just like Gallo, and he's not some loser one-dimensional player. He's a good fielder. He's a good outfielder. I mean, he's a good player. He's got a real flaw. But
yeah. All right.
He's
so
swinging
second
more
guy
this year
here.
too.
What'd you say?
The second
He's swinging
guy,
a lot more this year.
Yeah.
He's just swinging more, and eventually they're going to be like, "Hey, Joey Gallo can hit again," and they're going to stop pitching to him, and he's going to start striking out a bunch, and he's going to go through a month where he's a bum, and he's going to get dropped. Like that's Gallo,
Maybe. I mean, but if he takes a walk in that situation, then he'll be fine. But yeah, if he hits 230, that's to be expected. I mean, that's fine.
Okay. Well, that's the other thing too, is he might be looking at a lot of third strikes and now he's not looking at them anymore. Now he's swatting. So, you know, trying to sometimes if you're trying to get too many walks, you can get burned by that. You can get a lot of fucking called third strikes.
I mean, I can't make
Um,
exact number predictions, but I'll show Gallo love. So
all right.
I showed him love.
Well, I hope he does
What's your
well.
verdict, Phil? No, no love.
No love. He's swinging the same amount outside the zone as he was last year.
Hmm.
So he's still swinging 33% of the time outside the zone, just like he was when he was a bad Yankee.
All right.
So you
So
think it's
I
because of
think,
the well, you know what I think it is. It's probably got a little bit more confidence because the shift's not on anymore. And the other thing too is the pitchers are rushed. So they make more mistakes. So that's why I think goes into to Gallo's resurgence. Now, once the pitchers get used to this whole thing and they get back down to throwing brass tacks, I think he sinks like a ship.
But at least
I think Gallo hits.
Phil's basing his opinion on numbers, and I'm just talking on my ass gut stuff,
Yeah, mine's
which is the
hypotheticals.
opposite of how I say I do things. So I don't know.
All right. Next one. Toronto starting pitcher and sometimes relief pitcher. You say Pop Kikuchi, Pop Kikuchi. What do you think?
I don't think about him. I don't know. I mean, he has been not good for long enough that I don't think he's going to be good. But
Well,
I don't
I'll
know.
tell you one thing. I'm riding that fucking wave right now.
Yeah.
You might find him on the waiver wire down the road. It really depends on how he digs me with the he gets me with the arrows stuck in my number. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
he's good right now. I don't know. I say you say Kikuchi. I say goodbye. No thanks.
right now, 27 innings pitched, 3.00 ERA, 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, and 2 walks per 9 innings.
And a 4.87 FIP.
Well, I'll
And
tell
what,
you
Phil?
what.
4.73 xERA, 4.87 FIP. I don't know. 97% left on base. Nobody keeps that up all year. No way.
Well,
He's just
all
like
right.
he's just keeping. It's not going to happen.
Thanks for the help, boys.
That reminds me of something that I was
I will have a quick trigger.
reading about in the off season. Was you talk about the volatility of the ERA number, and we know that like even though ERA is a better stat than like wins or something, it's still a very volatile thing, and it's so much luck involved. And one of the big things, it's not just batting average on ball and play luck, but it's the strand rate. It's your bullpen, and it might not even be that bullpen. Even the same bullpen could be especially good in your starts for some reason for a number of starts. And that strand rate is a big ass thing in ERA. And it has nothing to do with the pitcher. You can't even look at his quality of contact. It has nothing to do with that. It's just the like you said, 97% strand rate, and he could have the rest of the year. He could have a 70% strand rate. I mean, it's you know. So, but yeah, I believe in the numbers that you said, that xERA and the FIP. So, my gut was saying that I've given up on Kikuchi, and maybe it's okay.
All right. Number 3, Cody Bellinger, 298, 475 OBP, 460 slugging with 5 home runs.
I don't think he's going to have a 470 on base the rest of the year, but yeah,
No.
I'm a believer in Bellinger. I mean,
I think, you know what? I think he needed a change of scenery, is what I think. I think that guy needed a serious change of scenery. I think something just along the way just kind of like threw him off in Los Angeles, and he needed to get the fuck out of there.
It just makes no sense. And I think maybe what I'm getting at, and I didn't realize it was, look at what kind of an athlete these guys are. Are they good fielders? Because if he's a butcher in the field, then maybe he's a one-trick pony. And Bellinger
Plays center
like
field.
I said last week, the Cubs probably thought like, geez, if this guy can have a 100 OPS plus, he plays damn good center field. He could play first. I mean, so it was like a no-brainer. Yeah, let's bring Bellinger in. And obviously, the hope is that he's going to be better than 100 OPS OPS plus, and it looks like he could be.
For them bringing him in for like a 1 year deal just to prove himself over again. I mean, the chances of the Cubs re-signing him really depends on the Ricketts family. I think if he does have the same, if he keeps this going, he's going to get paid next year.
And they will resign him. The Cubs are in a different place, at least in their eyes, right now. I think they're looking at next year as like the launching pad. You know what I mean? Like maybe even this year. I don't think it's going to be like 3 years ago when they were like, just this is the end of the story. We got to retool or whatever. No, I think that if he has a good year, he'll be back on the Cubs, and I think he'd want to come back because he'd be like, I'm not leaving. You know what I mean? This is where it worked.
That's what the thing is you just like bring them here for a year and hopefully they love where they're at. If they have a good year, then we re-sign them and they'll sign and we'll have them for a while. So
yeah, so
there's
Yeah.
that's a little hope right there.
I think we all
my
agree
take
on Bellinger, right?
Huh?
What's
I
that,
think we
Phil?
all agree on Bellinger, right?
I didn't say anything on him, but I think he's
I was
He was
speaking
about
for
to
you.
though.
he's making better swing decisions. And he always hit the ball pretty decently hard. He always elevated it. He's in a great ballpark. I think he'll be all right. 30 dingers for the year. He'll bat 250. I'll take that. Not what he's doing now, but a 250 hitter with 30 dingers and plays plus defense. I think that he'll do that.
Sorry, the
Your ghost is
apparition
back.
open the door again here.
Yeah.
No, I like Cody Bellinger. I like what he brings, and so far I'm pretty ecstatic. I mean, right now, I'm really liking where the Cubs are at. I mean, they're fun to watch
You
again.
have him on your team, Jeff, or just the Cubs?
No, but I tried to get him off Doug, and Doug kind of ghosted me and blew me off on that one, and it was rightfully so. And he even matched him with his secret emails. And yeah, that was a little bit of a bummer, but what are you gonna do? All right, number 4, Johan Oviedo, Pittsburgh. 5 starts, 29.2 innings, 3.03 ERA, 8 strikeouts per 9, 3 balls per 9. Granted, not as good as what we saw up here with Kikuchi, but still pretty impressive for
Those are
a
numbers that would
team.
have an ERA at least a run higher probably than he has.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth,
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't thought about Oviedo. I don't know much about him. I'm just listening to those numbers. But they're mediocre numbers. They're fine. They're not bad, but.
And then the last one here is Jared Kelenic, 325, 380 on base, 663 on the slugging with 7 home runs. Do you think Jared Kelenic, and this is like the most interesting one out of all of those, keeps it up?
I'm a total believer. I mean, I don't know about a 660 slugging, but
here's the thing, dude. Have you seen how far his home runs have gone? That dude has hit some major bombs this year. I mean,
who
one of the
has
ones
him?
I saw earlier, and I was like, one was against both of them were against Cubs. Were like fucking 470 feet.
Who has him in our league?
Good
I'll
question.
tell you. Mr. Kelenic.
That's a killer for a Mets fan, I'll tell you. But I've talked about it before, so
Sombreros
He's a holy cow.
Holy cows.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to trade him some pitching for Kelenic.
Yeah, because he needs pitching. Well, Norm always thinks he needs pitching.
I don't know if you, Phil. I don't know if you watched it was probably a couple of times ago, but I was talking about that trade, the Cano, Edwin Diaz trade with the Mets, and they traded Kelenic and Justin Dunn and a couple other guys. And
yeah.
I was saying that the trade should have been Cano and Diaz for nothing, and I think the Mariners would have done it because they just wanted to get rid of the last 5 years of that Cano contract, and they would have willingly traded a closer that they wouldn't need for a few seasons anyway.
Yeah.
And the Mets,
mess of a front office at that point totally choked on it and gave them way more than they needed.
They had a GM who was the GM for 1 year. He was a former agent. He was out of his depth. And this is like the
Mhm.
outside the box thinking that the Mets had then. You know, maybe it's outside the box because it's completely asinine. You know what I mean? Like to have this guy running the team, because I imagine like the Mariners like holding the phone when they're talking to when they're talking to Brody Van Wagenen and what the Mets offer was, and like him holding his hand over the receiver and going like, they're gonna give us Kellenic, and like everybody's like,
Right.
shh, like, yeah, okay, that sounds all right. We'll check things out. Click, and they're like, yeah, I mean, because it was such a
Right.
ridiculously stupid deal. I mean, you take on money or you trade prospects. You don't do both. You know what I mean?
Right. It was like going on a date with somebody, and you're like, do I call him right away? No, no. Call him back in 2 days. I don't want them to think that we're getting the wool over their eyes. Like, oh, I want to call him back now. I want Kalinick. This is the best. Yeah.
So
No,
this
they got
Kellenic
swindled on
thing,
that.
when he wasn't hitting through until this year, it saved Van Wagenen's ass because Diaz had a great year, but now Diaz is hurt for maybe the whole year, and Kellenic, he was the top hitting prospect the Mets had. I mean, that was it. They don't have
Yeah.
they don't have a bunch of, they didn't at that time anyway. These great hitting prospects, and now it looks like he's young enough that it really could be for real. I'd be surprised if it isn't. I mean, I'd be surprised if he's not at least a decent, all-star caliber player. Making the all-star team a few times or whatever. Like I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen for him.
Right.
So just
Well,
thank the
Boston's
Mets.
having a rough time right now.
The Mets are they're just a dumb team, man. I mean, I know they've got all the money in the world, and that helps. But
Well,
they're
check this out. Boston, their baseball team's okay, but now their hockey team just got kicked out of the first round of the playoffs, and just now, Philadelphia just knocked out the Celtics.
they just beat them though, right? They're not.
Oh, that's not a good day to be a Bostonian. And my heart goes out to you being a Chicagoan.
Can I go on record and say Boston is one of the most boring towns I've ever visited? It had a few moments, but man, it is way down on my list.
I lived in Boston a couple of times. I lived there in 85, 84 and 85 and 87. And I not I don't know. I hate Boston. And not the city necessarily, but I hate the sport teams. Not necessarily the Red Sox that much because we always had a Yankees. I'm a Mets fan, so the Red Sox and Mets fans always bonded with anti-Yankees stuff. But I hate the Patriots. I hate the Celtics. I hate that stupid
A
effing
lot of people that hate the Patriots for a
logo they
lot of different
have, and
reasons.
the
Yeah.
Bruins. And so it's not the city so much. It's just like the people and and the uh, and the sports teams that I hate.
Mind the ground there, but I dislike everything else about it. Now you're not far off for me too. I'll go to Lowell, Massachusetts before I go to Boston. Hey, you guys mentioned Diaz. Did you see what his brother's been doing in Cincinnati?
I picked him up actually.
Oh, I
Oh,
dropped him because he was shit.
you notice that he has 19 strikeouts in let's see, how many innings he's got. In 9 innings, he's got 19 strikeouts.
Wow.
He's got over a 50% strikeout per inning, 57%. And that's with a 50% left on base. So he's not even getting that lucky. He's got 19 K per nine right now.
19. What?
19 strikeouts per 9 innings.
Wow.
Wow.
He's really dealing right now. I mean, he looked like a bum last year, and I didn't believe in him, but you
No,
gotta
he was
respect
he
what
was
little
sucking
brother's
earlier in
doing.
the year, and I'm just like, you know
What
what? You're
are
not
what are
getting
his
me any.
walks? I should know this
Here's the
because I
thing.
just picked him up. But I mean,
I'm looking at what these guys do for the week,
his
and I look
walks.
what they do for the
He's always
year,
been too high in his walks. Like
and
definitely
he
over four
wasn't
per
getting
nine.
me any fucking points because he was never in a save opportunity. He wasn't getting holds,
He's at
and it was
two.
just like he's got 2 saves
Two walks
all
No,
per
year.
two
inning.
walks. Two
Oh.
walks.
How many saves has he
Two
got
walks,
now?
a hit by pitch batter, and 19 strikeouts.
Phil, you're
And
helping me
yeah,
out
since
because he was barely on my team, and
yeah,
I was starting to look around. Like if I was going to drop a reliever, it would have been him.
Dude, he's not getting any points though.
That's the thing. He's dealing, but like he's got one hold and 4 saves.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's not going to cut it.
no, it doesn't. And I was looking at him and I'm looking what all these other guys on the waiver wire are doing. They got way more points than him. And I'm like, why am I fucking with this guy? And he can
Yeah. And you're
fucking
not,
be that weird fucking like strike everybody out, but give up a fucking run or two here. And I mean, but Jesus Christ, man. I mean, he fucks up enough to take those points back off the board.
Closers
if
are
you're on
like,
a bad team, is hard to roster in the
yeah,
beer
I
league.
know.
Well, that's the other
I
thing
haven't
too. Kyle Finnegan is another one I had to drop because he wasn't getting any fucking
I
opportunity.
haven't rectified that part. Like is a closer, a bona fide closer on a bad team better than a guy who's sharing duties on a good team?
I would rather have a guy that gets holds 3 times a week than a closer that gets a fucking save twice a week.
Right. I mean, it makes sense, and I know that that's true, but I still am. I go after the guys that are closers, like bona fide closers, even
We
if they're
all
a bad
do, and
team.
you know what? That hasn't been working for me for years now. So now I'm switching gears and I'm just kind of concentrating on guys that get holds and pitch a lot that put
I
up
mean,
points per week.
I think closers is definitely the position where I am the least scientific about it. I almost exclusively just look at the job situation, where
Yeah,
they are in the pecking order. If it's a clear cut, old fashioned bullpen where they have clearly defined roles. So and I look at the quality of the pitcher probably less than I should. But by doing that, I kept Daniel Bard last year, and he had a really good year. And there's no reason to think that Bard would be good. He's not. He's not that good, and he pitches in Colorado for God's sake, and they're a bad team. And that's a bad place to pitch. So if I had done more thinking about it, I probably would have been like, maybe I'll go for this co-closer on Minnesota as opposed to Daniel Bard. But it worked out last year, and I'm still doing that
yeah.
this year. I'm still going for the bona fide closer, but I understand the drawbacks of that thinking.
It's
Well,
like
look who
throwing
Jeff
pickles
has.
in a window and just seeing what sticks.
Jeff, how do you pronounce that guy's name? Peter Strzelecki
I don't
for
even
for
know.
the
All I
Brewers.
know is I looked at his numbers and it's like,
Uh,
okay, well, that's fucking right.
well,
They're
yeah, and
using
right
him a
now
lot.
he's tied for fourth most points by a legitimate reliever, not including the starters in the beer league. Him
Yeah,
and Hader are tied, except Hader went for 20+ bucks, and you
because they're
picked
always putting this
Strelinsky off
fucking guy
the
in the
wire.
game. This guy's
Right.
always getting in the game. They're always like, they're leaning on him.
Did you
So
ask
we'll
Jeff
wait
that?
until his arm blows out. But he should be good for a while.
Did you ask Jeff
Uh,
that because he's Polish and he might know how to pronounce that because he's Polish?
I figure, don't wait when you guys pick a guy up, don't you go to the pronunciation thing on MLB and
Yeah.
so you're not embarrassed in case somebody asks you? I'm just kidding.
Usually I know how to pronounce Polish names pretty well. Hey, I got something to show you guys. Let's see it.
Zelecki.
This out. New pop fly this week. The one on the left is Eddie Goodell. Bill Vex prized possession for a little bit when he needed a
Yeah.
walk.
1944 was that? I don't remember.
Hey, he was a little person, and he'd throw him in there, and the guy couldn't. He had a smallest strike zone; they couldn't get a
Oh,
strike on him.
I know the story.
Oh yeah, he threw him
did?
in there. He was like 3 foot fucking 11, and
What did
he
he
threw that.
actually was it? I thought it was just like one plate appearance ever.
It was like, yeah, it was a total gimmick. And you know what?
All
They
right, 1951. 1951.
might have the
He only
story
lived
here.
to the ripe old age of 36 years old. He had one plate appearance, one walk. That
Right.
gives you and this is for you, Lou. That gives you a lifetime 732 WOBA.
I thought Goodell was like during World War II.
I don't know. I looked at Fangraphs, 51,
Oh,
St. Louis
okay.
Browns.
Yeah, this was a total Bill Veck kind of like just a marketing thing. Here's the other one. The football one is Y.A. Tittle, the bald eagle.
That's cool.
Yeah, pretty
That's
cool
really
shit.
cool.
All right.
Hey, you guys should get these guys as a sponsor for the podcast, you know?
And nobody watches this. Why would they sponsor it?
They don't need to. They don't need to know that. We'll just get a bot or two, and
I
then we'll
think
get
they would
our
see the
ratings way
stats
up.
Well,
though.
wait till we blow up, and then we can like say, "Hey, we were doing all this shit for you back in the day." Can you make a top fly of our beer league and have us all sign it for a bunch of money?
But they're already getting like 10% of the sales from you and Chris anyway. So,
Yeah, pretty much. I swear to God, man, I've got a lot of these things now. I swear to God. Here, I'll show you. Hold on one second.
Spend money to make money. Lou, I was like, hey, I
This
think
is
there's a
my stack right now.
holy cow! Wow.
My
So-
name's Jeff, and I have a problem.
Are those 11 by 14s then? They're kind of like the big, the real.
Yeah, they're like 11 or 8x11s or 11x13s or whatever. I haven't measured them,
Yeah. Or
but
11 by 17, something like that. Yeah, that's like
they're
the
not
big.
11x17s. They're not that long.
Okay.
I would say they're kind of like 8.5x11 or 9x11.
Dug out some of my old cards because I've been I'm a loyal first time caller, long time watcher, and so I knew that there might be a segment
I
coming
think you're
up.
the only person that's ever
Uh,
commented on our.
So I made sure I had my old Tops card here. There it is.
Ooh.
You can see the old book. Got some some of this guy, the old Mr. Tony Gwynn. I
Oh
guess.
shit, yeah, Tony was
I
awesome.
was big in 85, 86. But I did go, I did love old timey baseball. I got some McGuire rookies and stuff like that.
Well, see, the 85
but
and 86 are actually still worth a little bit. It's when they hit 87 and 88. That's when they start overproducing the shit out of everything. And the dollar values just plummeted.
I picked
And
these
plus
two
there
up
was a
a long
bad
time
kind of
ago.
year. There was only a couple like good people that came up.
Traded.
What? What?
Steve Stone and Ron Santo.
Those things look in really good shape, man. Get them back in the sleeve. Actually, the bottom left corner on that stone is fucked up.
Well, if you look at the back, these are the kind that are on the bottom of the box.
I remember those kind of cards with the
They're
little
like cut out,
newspaper
they're not cut right.
Those are cool as shit.
Yeah, I don't have a lot. I got a Yastrzemski, but it's all late career. But I just, I was a big baseball fan, so I just wanted to get,
You a Mike
something of the
Yastrzemski?
guy,
Hey, you know what's cool about those
Yeah.
pop flies too? When you get one of those in the mail, you get the print, but they also put in a wax pack of old cards for you too. Carl Yastrzemski, he's one of my favorite ball players back in the day.
A lot of yes,
Because he's
but
Polish.
I liked his stance, the way he stood out as the bat would kind of come forward a little bit. It was so like
Yeah.
loose and relaxed. He was out there, and then he just like whipped it around and smacked the shit out of it. I
He's
was a big Fred
overrated,
Lynn
man.
fan
He's
too.
overrated. He had the triple crown. He hit like 301. Give me a break. McNeil
great.
hits 301 falling out of bed. Come on. It's the same, right?
Dear
1967,
Lord.
2023.
yeah.
Polish power,
Or
baby.
I really liked. I used to buy them just because I liked that year's cards, how they looked. I liked this one. They had the 71 World Series set, so they had one for each game of the World Series that went 7.
Nice.
Dude, they've got some
For
there's some tops boxes out there, the Heritage. If you get the Heritage boxes for tops, they've got new players on old designs like that.
yeah, those are cool.
Really cool.
My favorite is the 72. Do you have any 72s? I love the lowercase black borders.
Oh man, I don't. You mentioned that last week, and I was like, I don't think I have any 72.
I bet you Larkin's got some.
Yeah, those are the coolest ones, I think. There's certain other years I like too, like 86, and there was a year like 2005 or whatever. I don't know, I can't remember, but certain years I just like the actual cards, themselves.
Hey, I've got to show you guys something here. And Greg Maddox. That's a guy that never should have been anything other than a Cub.
Right?
I just don't get that. They just nickel and dimed it to death and lost him. And then Atlanta, he was like the fucking anchor of the Atlanta Braves fucking.
Jeff, some birds just weren't meant to be caged. I mean, wasn't that in Shawshank they said that?
Yeah.
It's a good line, wherever it's from.
Yeah, that is. I've got a share something here real quick, and it's going to take about 4 minutes, but you'll enjoy every second of it. And we have to listen to this because this is one of the best calls ever into a radio station ever.
My son shared this with me, and I thought it was amazing. Best call I've ever heard. We don't have any
figure out
audio.
the volume here.
We don't have any audio, so I'll just describe what's going on. So right now, the caller. No, just kidding. I don't think that would be as effective. But you heard this call too, because you said that you had already heard it when I shared that.
Oh yeah, I checked it out. You know, he just points out everything stupid they've done.
My son and I are White Sox fans second. You know, when we moved here, I knew that he wouldn't be a White Sox fan anymore. But when we were in Chicago, we would have been big White Sox fans. I mean, his first games were at New Comiskey or whatever you call it. Mark Burley used to pitch games that were under 2 hours, which when you bring in a three-year-old to a game, like, does it get any better than that?
Yeah, that's the one you circle on the schedule. Like, we can go to this one. We'll be in and out no time.
We both love Burley, even after we moved and he went to the Marlins. I just love Burley.
Lou, well, we're getting the audio fix. I still want to pin you down on this Yandy Diaz, man. Is he gonna be better than you know? I mean, you know, it's not costing anything to make your guess. You think he's gonna be better than Soto from here on out? Let's say by Soto always wins with his walks. That's the thing. He's always a WOBA guy.
For this year,
rest of the season.
I would feel like a dope predicting anybody over Soto, really. But I know that Diaz is better than what he's been so far, and I liked what he was so far. I wasn't retaining him this year because I thought he would do this. You know, I just thought he
was good last year.
Yeah,
he was good. He was solid last year.
Yeah. So I'm overjoyed. I'm overjoyed with him, obviously. But I can't take him over Soto. I love Soto so much that I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I think Soto's fix is so easy. It's just going to happen like that. And then you'll know.
Did that not share with you guys?
No, we're just not getting the audio.
No audio.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're talking amongst ourselves, sir. The audio is the big thing.
I was hearing the audio on my end, and you guys were talking, and I'm just like,
they're not listening.
Yeah, I was like,
what a bunch of big jerks.
It didn't put any audio through?
No, because it's just like you talking. It doesn't let it out, otherwise it would feed back, you know?
Oh man. All right.
I've always thought that the audio portion of radio was very overrated. You know, I mean, you don't need it, you know?
No.
I actually thought that you could play a video on this and just like bring it up and just play it and it would like be fine, but apparently not.
There's a way to do it, but I am not the guy to ask.
Yeah. Well, I put that video on and I left right away because the dog was barking and he wanted to go out. So
you mean your feet were aching or something?
Yeah. Right?
No, my actual dog was. You heard him.
You know, when we have Sean on later this month, he's got a great Kenny Williams story that I think he told one time with you guys, but I don't want to go into it too much because I don't remember the details enough. But he actually got into a physical altercation with Kenny Williams at a Sox Fest.
Oh shit! Wow.
Where it had to be broken up because
wow.
I don't want to steal.
So it's Sean's fault they don't have Sox Fest anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good.
They didn't do it this year.
That's a good teaser. Stop right there. But say no more. Say no more. I want to hear the story from his own lips.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to ruin it. I think he made a comment to Kenny Williams, not in a confrontational fashion. It was confrontational fashion.
Was it smart ass?
No, it was like just asking, you know, so, you know, what are you going to do for the bullpen this year? Something like, you know, it was like a fan question. But Kenny Williams, probably because he senses that he's not very good at his job, took it as some sort of confrontation and was very condescending to Sean. Like said, like, you know, if I had a dime for every time like a fan like you asked me a question like that, it was really condescending. And Sean said to him, "Fuck you." And then, and then I guess they went. I'll let Sean tell because I think he's got better details than I do. But it was a great story.
Sounds like Sean's in
Wow.
the right on this one. Like, don't be a smartass to the fans. I mean, we're asking honest questions. I mean, it's just like just because we care. And what are you gonna do? Turn somebody off from baseball because you're a fucking dick?
But it wasn't like he went like, "Hey, so what's going on in the bullpen?" Like it was more like "Hey, I don't know." Let Sean tell it. I mean, maybe he
All
was more
right.
confrontational than that, but I
All
thought
I,
that was
all
a
I
great.
know is the White Sox are fucking terrible. And yes, they won and came back and won that game on Sunday. And thank God Andrew Vaughn got a 3-run home run to win the game because I have Andrew Vaughn.
That was pretty
But
big, though. I mean,
holy shit, are they fucking terrible? And Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn need to be fucking fired immediately. It's the same situation that we had with the Bulls with Gar and Pax. They are the problem with Reinsdorf is he wants to give people too much of the benefit of the doubt, even when they have no. I mean, Williams, he lucked into the 2005 season. It was a good thing going on there. And then he ended up getting rid of Ozzie Guillen because, Ozzie doesn't have a filter. And, they probably just knocked heads the whole time. But Jesus Christ, man. Talking about the futility. I mean, 2005 is almost 20 years ago. What have you had in the midst? It's absolutely dog shit. They've struck out on their trades and people they've gotten. Glenn Makata, average player, can't get it going. Eloy Jimenez can't stay on the field. He's like Jorge Soler is what he is. You never know what you're gonna get. One day he might hit fucking 10 home runs in a week, and then he'll go bye-bye for 2 months. Or he'll get hurt. You know, it's just the players they brought in, and I swear to God, I thought the Cubs lost that deal. And it's like if Dylan Cease goes down, then definitely the Cubs won that deal with Quintana.
the Cubs lost
Cease
that
is the
deal,
only
though.
thing from that
They
deal
did.
right now, keeping it relevant for the White Sox.
The biggest problem is that those guys are not staying healthy. I mean, this other stuff that's gone on, I guess, during La Russa, and we've seen this year. That's separate. I mean, I think the biggest issue is like you've got these guys that are playing. They're injured half the year.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's going to be able to cover that, especially the White Sox, because the White Sox don't really build a roster with a lot of contingencies
They didn't never have
thought about.
depth.
You know what I mean? Like
They never have depth. I mean, you got Tim Anderson goes down. You're bringing in some fucking 4A player to take his spot.
even
Some
when
guy
they
Even
that
they
really
re-signed
can't stay
Andrews.
up all the time.
even when they brought in Andrus, which was
It
a
was the
good
last day
idea.
before the season.
It was a good idea, but they brought him in very late. I mean, like it wasn't like part of the plan necessarily. Like
Well, he was like brought in September or some shit,
why weren't
and
they
he
thinking
actually was really good.
why weren't they thinking like, we need okay, we're not going to get a star second baseman. Let's get a couple of guys that, let's get some depth because especially coming off the past 2 years, these guys haven't stayed healthy. It just makes no sense. Like unless Reinsdorf said, look, I don't want to spend any more money. You just give me 9 starting players, 5 starting pitchers, and then we'll just hope for the best. And like, even though these guys have been, the White Sox starting important players have been injured more than the average, more than average. I mean, like Jimenez, Robert, Moncada, all these guys, even Anderson now. Anderson played 120 games last
Well, on
year.
top of that, I mean, your number one closer goes down, Liam Hendricks, and the only guy you've got to take his place is Ronaldo Lopez.
And they had
That guy's
Crochet. They had
he is
Crochet and
terrible.
who?
Ronaldo Lopez.
Yeah. I mean, but they've had. I guess I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I mean, like the players they brought in, I think were fine talent wise. I think their trades were okay. I mean,
They
you
made
can't.
two
You,
moves.
you look at it with hindsight. That's fine. I mean, I know things don't work out sometimes, but the things that you can blame them for is like that they didn't put any. They didn't build any depth for when players do get hurt. You know,
They didn't try to improve this offseason. The thing is, okay, they thought that it was all of Rusa and that this new manager was going to be somehow, you know, the baseball whisperer and get these guys all on board, and they're not, you know, and when you only bring in Clevenger as a starting pitcher and Benintendi as an outfielder the whole off season, you didn't do your fucking job. That's
and
terrible.
Benintendi got a sweetheart deal from the White Sox. They were the Yankees beat guy asked Benintendi why he left, and he just said like the White Sox just he wanted to come back to the Yankees, but the White Sox just made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I mean, like for him to get 5 years, 75 million, yeah. I mean,
they'll throw money at players just because it's more money than if they're going to see from anybody else.
Benintendi should
but
have
it's
gotten
like they're not going over fucking 16 million a year.
The Yankees should have signed Benintendi. They need him, but Benintendi should have gotten a contract like what's his name, Avasal Garcia, 4 years, 56 with the Marlins. That's like his level.
Yeah,
he got 575, and now he's a White Sox, and he's a good player. I mean, he's an above average player or slightly above average player, but that's not even my point. With the White Sox, it's just easy to see that they just didn't build enough, depth there. I mean, it's just that's their.
I mean, it's like
especially considering the track record that these guys have. It's not a big surprise
the biggest thing
hurt or Anderson or any of these guys. I mean, they've been hurt. It's already been established that they've missed a lot of time, and they're young guys and they're missing time.
The biggest problem I see with the White Sox is that they don't fucking develop their players. I mean, they get all these like first round draft picks and shit that never make it to the fucking pros. And they've been doing that for years. I mean, it's a systematic problem with them. They cannot develop players. You look at the Dodgers and how many people that they develop. Fucking if White Sox had a pipeline like that. So you got to look at the fucking, the ownership and how you haven't set yourself up for success with your minor leagues because they can't develop fucking shit. They couldn't develop a goddamn 5x8 fucking photo. I mean, they're terrible.
It's definitely a system.
Right, so
go ahead.
Sorry. Benintendi is the highest paid free agent that wasn't already on the White Sox they ever signed. The highest priced ever. They signed Konerko when he was already a White Sox for 120, 30 million, and Abreu when he was a White Sox, and Frank Thomas when he was a White Sox, but they've never brought in and Burley when he was a White Sox. They sign their guys occasionally, but they never bring in dudes. The last time they brought somebody in was like George Bell. But Benintendi wiped out the highest price free agent they've ever signed by a bunch.
No, you're talking about Albert Bell.
Albert Bell.
Yeah, George Bell was actually gotten a trade by the Cubs.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they don't do that, and they have the second worst batting average of ball in place for their pitchers, meaning their defense sucks. You look at their WAR for their hitters, and it's awful. They have like super negative WAR for their hitters, and then they're not hitting the ball. If they're doing everything possible wrong, like you can't do anything else wrong. I mean, what's that?
They pulled Luis Robert out of the game the other day for not hustling, and then he says, "I got a hammy."
I was watching that game. It looked like he grimaced. He put his head down and grimaced. I saw his face as it happened. It looked like he was like, "Ouch!" I thought he was going to come out for an injury.
I didn't see that because it looked terrible in the replay. Because if he had been busting it, he would have been safe.
During the broadcast, they did like close up of his face, and it was like you could see right when he puts his head down and slows down. He puts his head down and it's a grimace, like he's in pain.
I mean that explains it a little bit.
I don't want to vilify the guy.
What is with the strength and conditioning coaches of the White Sox, man? All these guys are pulling muscles. All these guys are always on the DL. It's always a strained muscle. It's always this, always that. What fucking strength and conditioning regimen do they have these guys on, and what are they keeping them to?
See, but
You
I
know,
think
I
stuff
mean,
like
it's
that,
just
like
like
all,
when you go down that much, I get like Tommy John. When it comes to muscles and shit, if you're not stretching right, you're
I
stretching
think they
right. You
hired him for
shouldn't
the
be pulling
Mets.
muscles.
wouldn't
I think
all
they
the
hired the
teams,
Mets old guy.
yeah,
Fucking terrible.
wouldn't all the teams have almost, identical knowledge of this kind of stuff though? I mean, like it's, you know, maybe it's just bad luck on their part. I'm not talking about the developing of their players, because I do think that there's obviously something missing there. I mean, like when you go to the draft, that's how teams are judged, right? The players that they're taking in the draft, but wouldn't you think that they're probably choosing players almost as well as most teams, or at least in the ballpark? But what really becomes, a big difference is like what they do once they're on the team. And I know the Mets don't seem to be able to do that very well, and the White Sox obviously don't do it well. And the Dodgers do. And I don't know if that means like the Dodgers are so much better at drafting, or it probably just means that once they get the guy that they like and they can work with this guy, they do something with
No,
him.
I think they just spend the money on the coaches in the minor leagues. That's what I think. I think they actually put the money out there to get the best people in their minor league system to coach these people up, and it pays off. You get what you pay for.
And that could come back to Reinsdorf too, because I'm sure that Reinsdorf, obviously, he was behind this decision to bring in LaRussa. And I know the way they're playing this year makes LaRussa look a little bit better, right? Because they're sucking, and LaRussa's not the manager anymore. But think of
I
it.
think though, I
Think of
think
it. When
LaRussa,
they got rid of Renteria, he's a Spanish speaking guy, and they have all these Spanish speaking players, and they did well. They came off a successful year. When did they bring LaRussa in? Was it 20 or is it 21? Was he only there for 2 years?
I think it was
One
the
year.
first year of COVID.
But anyways, they get rid of Renteria. It just made no sense, to bring in an old guy, and you've got this younger manager, and well, anybody's younger than LaRussa, and he speaks Spanish, and they've got a lot of Spanish-speaking players in the team, and they did well. It just made no sense that they made that change. I remember, when they got rid of him, it just made no sense. Like I was like, why? Why would you get rid of him? It just makes no sense. And you bring in LaRussa, and he was even worse than anybody could have imagined. Causing drama when there didn't need to be. What was it that
Yeah.
the overweight guy they had?
Yermin
Walking in
Mercedes.
a
Yeah.
run.
Yeah. That should have been a
Intentional.
fun. That should have been a fun moment that teams could, like, a little levity in the during the season, and instead LaRussa turned into this like big problem.
Yeah.
And he's such a bullshitter. I mean, right,
His
LaRussa
team was
is,
going well up until that point too, and it's just like he sucked all the fun out of it.
yeah.
So I don't know. The White Sox are fucked. I think they need to sell the team. And if you think about it, Reinsdorf, to be honest with you, what he inherited fucking Michael Jordan, and basically that really made him look like the superstar sports team owner, when basically, okay, there was one guy that kind of like, you had your time with that guy. You got lucky getting him because somebody passed on him. And then with the White Sox, he's got one championship in how many years he's owned that team? Damn near 40. Come on. The problem is this guy is loyal to his workers to a fault. And he doesn't like to fire people. He
Even when
likes
he
these
fires
yes
them,
men
he
hanging
brings them
around.
back sometimes.
Yeah.
I think there's only one way that Reinsdorf will give up the White Sox.
Well, no, he'll die and pass it on to his son. And then we'll see if people like Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn will be around after that. you know.
Isn't his son already operating as like
He is, but I mean, his dad calls the shots. His dad's not going to let him fire his people.
right?
Well, there's no
So
way those guys are going to survive this year if they don't turn it around.
it's going to be, like I said before, it's like Garpax for the Bulls. You know, Paxson was with the Bulls for so many years. He is the Kenny Williams of the Bulls. And he was around for so many years and never got anything accomplished. Always a bunch of hype, never panned out. And then finally, a couple years ago, they just decided to part with him. And it
No, the
still
best thing the
isn't
White
going well.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's good turning around eventually. At least they're not. At least they can get free agents into the Bulls. But
Yeah.
no, the White Sox, they pay. They get guys from Cuba, so they pay guys, a lot less money, and they try to like be really good on the Cuban market, and that's about it. Like that's really like what they do well.
But
They get
what
guys
we're
from.
finding out is that Cuban players are fucking soft. I'm serious, man. These guys cannot play through a goddamn hangnail. They're, oh, I can't play a day to day, this day to day, that. They are not tough players. They've never seen that much money. When they start getting paid money,
Abreu
they
played,
don't
man.
seem to want to work anymore.
Abreu
Yeah, over
played,
there,
right?
Brady, man.
I mean,
Brady was great. No, but
I was jealous when the
him
White Sox
literally is
got
suspicious.
when the White Sox got Abreu for like 11 million a year. I was like, oh man, why weren't the Mets in on that? You know?
That could be another reason why the White Sox suck so bad right now. Is you just let the heart and soul walk away.
I
He was
know
the
he's
guy
not
that
doing.
kept
I
that
know he's
locker
not
room in
doing
order.
well with the Astros, so maybe it was smart. I don't know,
Yeah,
but yeah, they're probably missing
it's just
something. They were talking about the White Sox on MLB tonight. Sort of stole our thunder because I knew I wanted to talk about the White Sox tonight after that sports radio call that we didn't hear the audio. but
I think their dynamic drastically changed with Abreu leaving that.
that's one of the things they were saying. I mean, you're grasping at straws when you say stuff like that, but something.
He was a guy
Gotta be
that
happening.
you know what? That was the guy that was there when every one of those players walked in there. He was the oldest member of that team. Nobody was there longer. He walked in and saw that guy. Every
I mean,
player on that team.
for right now, it's got to be Tim Anderson. He's the guy, the most logical choice.
Can't be the
Yeah.
choice if you're on the DL.
Right. But,
God knows he's been on a DL a lot over the last few years. But shit, man, we are at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was going to ask Phil about
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
I was going to ask Phil about the
Yeah.
D-men.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Let's
okay.
talk about
We
the
all know
D-men
about that.
tap.
It's that's boring stuff. Let's talk
No, well,
baseball. uh
how did you get started with the whole food truck thing in the first place?
what was it? My original partner was Nick over at Three Floyds, and then we couldn't find a reliable person to be a chef or cook on it. So then I brought in Sean, who I'm in a band with, and a buddy of mine who lived together and stuff. So that's how it got started. It was Nick's idea, and I put in the sweat. That's about it. Just lucky, I guess.
And it was just the food truck at that point, right?
Yeah, we got that in 2014. We debuted it at Dark Lord Day. So and now we'll be back at Dark Lord Day this year for our 10-year anniversary of launching the food truck. And yeah, at the time
Do you get
I
a
was just
guest
playing in a
list?
band, right? Yeah. Message me, DM me. uh,
I'm gonna call
um,
you.
no, I know, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So and then in 2016 we did the bar because it's a lot easier to sell booze than it is to sell food. I gotta say, it's a lot less prep involved. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you don't have to
Uh
pay for the you don't have to pay for that sub kitchen or whatever that you guys used.
I still gonna pay for that.
You still have
Yeah,
to pay for that?
it's the archaic screw the food truck laws of Chicago that still gotta pay for it. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, well. Such is
Were you-
life. Been a good run,
Yeah.
but just put some sweat on it and keep it going. I guess. It's
You guys had Tecmo Bowl tournaments in the back room over at Demon Tap.
We had some Tecmo Super Bowl. We had some NHL '94 tournaments back there. We had some RBI baseball. We did the one that was Tecmo Super Bowl, RBI baseball, and NHL '94.
The NHL '94, is that the Roenick year?
Oh yeah, he's in '93, '94. He's a monster. He's a beast. He's
Yeah.
unstoppable. Chelios is on there. Yeah, Larmer. Yeah, that's a good squad. It's a fun squad. Um,
Dude,
no
I
Stanley
love
Cup,
that
but they
team.
were good. Yeah, play
Fucking
them
love
and
that team.
the Red Wings. That's a classic matchup. You fire those two up and you remember every name on both teams. You
Yeah.
know.
93
Yeah,
was
so
the
we still
year,
got
I
the
think.
video games back.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said 93 was the year. Was it? That was the year they went, or is it 92 that they went to the Stanley Cup?
It was right around then.
Yeah,
It was
I
them
remember
and
that
the
they
Red
got
Wings
wiped
fighting
by
it out.
Pittsburgh badly. I actually saw a playoff game against Edmonton, and when they scored the go-ahead goal, I was in the middle of a fucking long piss. So you just heard the horn go off outside the bathroom, and everybody pissing at the stalls just put their arms up in the air.
Classic.
Hopefully they
Oh, it
didn't
was the
turn
old
toward you.
stadium too. That was like the old stadium before the United Center. What a great place to see a game.
We had the uh, auction at D-Men starting in 2017 and all the way through 19. And then, of course, then COVID hit, and then we had it on the computer for 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had some people gathered together between 2 and 4, 5, 6 people at in one spot. And then this year
It
was,
did make it a little bit easier, though. That was good.
but we had 3 years at D-Men. That was nice, that back room, and well, we've got a lot of pictures for it from it.
Sure do. I still got all those baseball cards you brought over for us to vandalize.
Oh
Uh
yeah, that was something I did
yeah.
over at Lemmings. I mean, I saw this it's called baseballcardvandals.com or some shit. And people would take Sharpie markers to old baseball cards and make them into something different. And I can bring it up real quick if you want to
Oh
see a
yeah, those are
couple.
great. We were spreading those around. They were great. The guy
Oh
lying
my
in the
God.
bed, that was one of my favorites. Man, those are great. I'll should bring that out next year for that.
You
Oh,
should
that
do
would
that.
be just like
You
a
should do
fun
that to
little
some of
like
your cards,
exercise
like maybe your
afterwards.
McGuire rookie cards, or
Right? Throw
All
a few
right.
Maddoxes out there, sure.
So I'll share the screen here real quick. I just brought the website and there's no sound, so this should work fine. Summer wardrobe. Who's ass ton of freaking shorts. Uh, shout, shout, let it on out. This is the shit that these people do. Locked my keys into car. So that's Linda Carter's.
I got it. Belinda Carlisle. Yeah, yeah.
Linda Carlisle, that's right.
Linda Carter.
West Coast state locations are as follows: California bottom, Oregon middle, Washington top.
So what? Oh, that's a Royals, right?
That's
Having some fun with the Royals jersey.
some
Ron
good work
Washington.
right there. All right, who's this guy? The stinkiest
That's
part is
Ken.
colon.
Oh.
Stinkiest part of ass is colon. Oh shit. Oh my God, Oscar Mayer.
Oh, jeez.
So you see where we're going with these. You know what? Go to this website. It's funnier than hell. Baseballcardvandals.com. Fucking hysterical. Can't get enough
So
of it,
I know
man.
we got to get out of here,
There's
but
so much
I
good
wanted
like
to.
thoughts going into it. It's just great.
Yeah, no,
Trying to
those
make
were
it
great. When
old.
you shared a lot of those during the dark days of the pandemic, and they were a light to my heart. Um,
Love them.
yeah, I really tried to announce a trade like on the podcast, but I was not able to pull it off, unfortunately. I scoped both your guys' teams to see if I could maybe, coax you into one too, but there's just not a match. So it wasn't for lack of trying.
What were you gonna
I
offer?
thought, a big announce on the podcast would be great, but it just didn't work out.
I
So
tried to make try to make a live trade so everybody could be the witness.
that's what I was trying to do. I was gonna like try to, bring, or at least like
You
send it
can't
over
help
maybe an
yourself.
hour
You just
before.
got like you got like this like addiction to moves.
I just thought it'd be fun. I don't
You
know.
probably picked up and dropped 5 players as we've been talking here today.
Jeff is a tough one to make trades with. I'll say,
Why am I a tough one to make trades with? I just don't like getting screwed. I'd rather do this. I'd rather be the guy that delivers the flowers instead of the guy that accepts them.
I like getting screwed. You just lie there and take it. Um,
Yeah.
Chris and I
yeah,
have made very quick trades. He makes me an offer and I accept it. So you just have to know what to offer me. You have to offer me very boring, mediocre players, older players. And usually I'm like, yeah, I love boring, old, mediocre players.
long track record, right?
So what was the offer you
Yeah.
were going to make one of us? Was it Lou or was it me?
Oh, I looked. I couldn't do it. I couldn't find anything that
You
was
just didn't
even
like
gonna
any of our
even gonna
players.
tickle your fancy, man. I just couldn't. No, I like the players, but there's, you're not gonna move those guys. So I just couldn't find anything that would really move the needle for either one of you. So, it was certainly worth. I was looking. It wasn't for lack of trying. I did look at it for a couple times the last few days to try to make a move or something. But
I wish you would have told me before you traded Trey Turner.
yeah,
That's one
well,
guy I always regretted fucking just like not being able to match. Ever since then, it's all been downhill, man.
it it was
I
the
started
Turner
smoking
with
meth, shooting heroin, eating fentanyl,
it
and
was the Trey Turner point.
I just
Yeah.
need Trey Turner back.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll if something else pops in my head, guys, you'll be getting a message from me about a trade, but uh we'll have to see.
Well, wouldn't put it past you. Master of moves, Sultan of was Sultan of what? Sultan? What's the word?
Of swindle.
Oh boy. No thanks. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah. I don't know. It's like a nervous tick. It's got to be making moves.
dude, it's working in your favor. You do you. I mean, you're, it's working. Whatever you're doing is working. You're right behind him, even though he's having a out of body experience with his season this year. Um, you're not that far back. If he has a couple bad weeks, you can like sneak up in there and be sniffing his undies in no time.
Yeah, I don't think Lou would want to mess with his roster at all, Knowing Lou. I don't think
He
Lou would
probably
want to change
won't.
a
It's
thing
just
at this
those guys
point.
will keep fucking playing well, and then they'll hit a hiccup. But I have a feeling they'll hit a hiccup all at the same time.
Yeah.
Lou will get himself like an 0 and 12 like little 2 week period. You're starting to sweat there, Lou.
No, I was going to say that I think I have finally jinxed myself because up until this week, I wasn't believing it. So it could still happen.
Dude,
But this week, I finally said to myself, I think I even said to Diane, I was like, I could win it this year, I think. I mean,
it's the hottest start anybody's ever gotten off to. I mean, 22-4 is one of the best ones I've ever seen.
yeah, so, and so then I realized, oh, I just jinxed it because when you say that's when things go south. So we'll see.
Not necessarily. Keep your confidence up. I mean, that's one hell of a intro song that you did.
Right? It's a good squad, good intro song, you know.
Yeah,
Did you see the
guys got
montage
talent.
yet?
Got talent.
Did you guys see the
All
montage yet?
enthusiast, escaping reality podcast. What's that?
Did you see the montage yet?
No.
I put a piano version of that song with a photo montage. So it's about 2 minutes, and it has all the old pictures and semi
Hey, did you
chronological order.
have you shown Phil your jam spot there?
Oh, I mean, I saw it on the on one of the last ones, but
Yeah,
My son's
that's
band my
that's
son's band
Studio de
practices
Saint
down here.
Jean.
My band practices down here when we have a show coming up the end of the month, so I'm sure that means we're going to practice. We're the laziest band in rock and roll, so we only practice like right before we have a show. So,
best time, best time to do it
so
for sure. All right,
Call your
boys. Well, it's
band
been
sitting in
fun.
as a band.
I literally have nothing else to do, so if you want to sit here for another couple hours, I'm good. But I don't want to keep you guys.
I had
Well,
no idea that we ran this long.
oh, dude, we're at 2.5. This is like an hour longer than any other podcast
Oh
we've
yeah,
done, but it's been fun, so that's why.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
good
I have
times.
to get going here. I know that for a fact. So it's been a long day. Gotta get up early. I mean, it's 11, was it 10:30? 10:30 my time, 11:30 yours.
Yep. Oh, bring the trophy down.
Yeah,
I
know
gotta
that
put
baby.
I gotta put this guy back down to sleep. He's getting tired. Getting tired. I gotta put my little baby here, my little 2-year-old.
Hey, when you rub it, does the ghost of Eddie Goodell come out of it?
Whew.
It's too small to tell.
Yeah.
There you go.
Look at Lou St. John in 2019. They got me there in 2015.
All right, hard to get a good it's not lit up too much, guys. Sorry
Yeah, it's
about that.
basically Larkin
Phil
and
and Phil.
you, Steiger, and Larkin each had two on that side. There's more Larkin.
Yeah,
Damn,
that's your last decade.
that was my first one there. I went in '99.
Doug
Right? That's
Smith.
some good ones. So,
I think Doug's won three
yeah.
times. I think.
That's some good years.
And it's Steiger's year. He wins every 4 years, so it's not his year.
Sean
I saw.
Stone back in '94.
So I looked at your history, Phil. Like you won in 2013, your first year, and then you didn't win again until 2021.
Yeah, so that's you asked about the food truck and the bar.
Yeah.
There you go. It makes it really hard to make all these moves and have them not be stupid moves when you're too busy.
But
Dude,
even though
I
even
tell
though
you, man, when I started working for Lakeshore Beverage and taking on more responsibility there, man, it's I get caught up with work, can't check can't check the lineup in time, and all of a sudden you leave a couple guys on the bench and they score like out the ass. It happens to me constantly. So
but even though
Yeah.
Phil went, what is that, 7 seasons without winning, he has finished in the money 8 of the 10 years he's been in the league, and that's the highest percentage that we have.
yeah,
Kimmler, I think, is the next highest, and he's 2 out of 3. But 8 out of 10, that's pretty impressive.
Kimmler is pretty damn good. He's got a lot of time to look at this stuff too.
And I saw that even Phil finished under 500 one year, but it was a 77 and 79 year. So if Phil's going to finish under 500, it's going to be 77, 79.
Yeah, the one year that he finished under 500 was by 2 games, and then everything's been over that. So I think you got kind of a Belichick thing going on here.
What you got to do is pick up Ryan Noda on Friday and get 12 points out of him.
How the fuck does that
That's the
happen?
kind of quality moves that you got to make. That's that's the secret.
You
The
play
top-
draft.
The top 3 lifetime win percentage.
No, I don't do any of that.
Of
You know what
You
I-
should, man. The way your luck rolls and shit like that. I mean,
I just look at the lineup, and if somebody's batting 3 or 4, they must be okay. The manager knows more than I do. They get paid to do it for a living. Even the White Sox guys are smarter than I am. So if they're in the lineup against a crappy pitcher, I'm going to throw them in. That's it's nothing complicated. You're like you're batting fourth and you're against a mediocre pitcher. Sure, and I need a spot. Take him.
Yeah, I don't
Hey.
look at it on a day-to-day basis, but I do look at batting average, a batting order position.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, makes a big difference.
if a guy's hitting three, I understand it's different if he's on the Nationals, but but it's a good thing if he's hitting leadoff or third or something like that.
Yeah, it's probably annoying to everybody in the league. It's like a nervous tick. I just like look through the lineups and I'm like, oh, how do I get this guy in? I want to start the whole league on my team. That's the problem. So I'm like, oh, I want this guy. I want this, you know.
The only problem is like the first 20 guys on the waiver wire are all like on waivers and there's no free agents.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
like
my fault
Jesus
too.
Christ, you really got to dig for a player because you put everybody on waivers.
Yeah, that's my fault too. We gotta do something, some sort of way to make me pay. I don't know what it is.
Shock therapy.
Yeah, sure. I like juice.
Yeah.
Well,
All
Phil,
right.
it was a pleasure to have you on with us, and I had no idea that we ran so long.
Oh, it's all good. I mean, it's like they go as long as they go. It really depends on us and who we have on and all that good stuff. So, I mean, brought a lot to the table today, man. It was fun talking with you and shit. We'll keep going.
Yeah,
We'll be back
Have me,
again.
boys.
I mean,
Love to be on anytime.
we're gonna run through the gamut of anybody who wants to be on, and then when we run out of that, we're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
So we'll
So
probably talk to you two or
hopefully
three times this year.
hopefully you'll be back with us in June.
I think the next
Nice.
round, though, the next round, we get two members at a time in, and then there'll be four of us here talking.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh
Maybe,
boy,
let
we
me
need
see. I mean, I feel
a
like
talking stick.
We
if we
could
have
change up
four,
the dynamics and shit.
I feel like if we have four, it's going to be too much talking over. I think three is
Eh,
max, sort of. I
we
mean,
could
I
try it.
wanted to have maybe Steiger and Norm on the same time on a holiday,
Okay.
because otherwise it can't work. Like Norm, it would be too late for us, and then Steiger it would be way too early. But on a holiday we can make it work. I think. So
Well, we'll try it. We'll see.
we'll see.
But anywho,
All right.
well,
Well,
Mr.
good
Phil,
night.
I'll see you at the bar sometime.
Hope so.
Yep.
Good night, Phil. I hope
Good to see you both,
maybe.
guys. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Thanks for doing this too. It's been really
Great
fun.
having you.
I enjoy them.
Awesome.
If I come out this summer, I'll definitely stop by the D-Man.
Oh, please do.
If you got to send me a trade, I can't guarantee I'm going to accept it, but try your best.
Okay.
Well, you know what I like, Phil? Boring, mediocre old players.
Sometimes
Yeah,
I feel
I'm
like
a-
sometimes I feel like a seagull outside of fucking Phil's garbage can.
Maybe JD Martinez is in the works for you, Lou. Maybe we can get you a JD Martinez one of these days.
I'll
He's
look at
slightly
him
above
tonight
average.
before I go to sleep.
One
Oh.
broken in half JD Martinez.
Yeah, not till he comes back healthy.
115 ADL JD Martinez.
Yeah, not till he comes back, of course.
But then what am I going to give you, right? Like Ramon Laureano or something,
Yeah, yeah. That's he's shiny. All right, boys. I'll catch you later.
Okay.
My bladder's about to burst.
All right,
See you,
buddy.
boys. Have a good one.
Good
Talk
night.
to you later, man. See ya.
See you, Phil.
Whoa.
All right,
All
Jeffrey.
right. That was fun.
Man, I had no idea. When you said that, I thought it was like
Dude,
an
I
hour
mean,
and a
we were
half.
just talking. It's like I went and saw John Wick 4 3-4 weeks ago with my brother when it came out. And that is a 3 hour movie that plays like two. And I think for us with talking with Phil here, that was like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour podcast that played like 1.5.
Well, we hope so.
Well, I mean, I don't know about the people listening, but for us doing it, it did. It just, sometimes you get, into things and start talking and Time flies and you're having fun.
Well, Chad said he puts us on when he makes dinner, and I'm wondering how many dinners this is going to make it through. This could
Yeah,
take us for the whole
he's
week.
doing ramen that takes like 11 minutes. He's still working on the first episode.
All right, Jeff. Well, I'll see you next week.
All right, buddy. Always a pleasure, always a good time. And yeah, we'll do this again next week where well, should we just say who's gonna be on next week?
No, it's a special guest that nobody could ever guess.
All right. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
All right.
Cheers.
Good night, buddy.
Bye.